Okay, looks like we are live. Let me get my Facebook set up just so I can see the screen. I ain't gonna be listening to it, but so I can see the screen here. Here we go. Welcome on, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. I'll give you guys just a moment. This is the lovely Queen Katt. Of course, you guys, if you don't know, we've been working together for several years now. We've done a Reinvention After Religion workshop before. We have another one coming up August the 18th. Get your tickets. We wrote a book, Reinvention After Religion. Get the book. If we can, Queen Katt, I don't know if you can see the comments. Can you go ahead and throw the website to be able to get that in? Definitely. If you can see that. If not, you can say it to me and I can type it in also.
Okay. There's two sites that you can get it off of. My website, www.iamqueenkatt.com, KWEENKATT.com, or you can go to iSelfLaw and Master, iSelfLawandMaster.com, and the tickets are available as well. And like Kev said, we want to see you guys August 19th. We will be at the Aku venue on August 19th, and we're bringing some awesome people out. I'm working on getting a team of authors together that have already published, books to come out and, show you guys more of us as a community, because we're out here. Black authors are out here. We do have something to say, and we want to expose it to our community. Like they say, when it comes to us, if you want to hide something from us, you put it in the book. Well, we're writing the books now and creating our own history now. So August 19th, you guys go get your tickets. And we look forward to seeing and meeting all of you. It's going to be dope. We're going to have the meet and greet from 12 to 3. And where you get to ask your questions and whatever you want to know about Kev, me, religion, our experiences. And then we're coming back. We're going to leave. We're going to come back. And we're going to be all dolled up and dressed up with good music, good food. And we're going to vibe out with each other. So if you're looking for kindred spirits, because I know how lonely that can be when you do decide to detach from the familiar, it does get kind of lonely. So if you're looking for a new vibe, a new group of people, come link with us and meet with kindred spirits. You never know.
Absolutely. It's amazing, guys. I found a home in the minds and the communion of lovely people after I left religion through going to these type of events and creating these type of events. So it's one of my most favorite things to do. So make sure you come out. We will be signing your books. And that amazing gala, we'll be dancing, we'll be laughing and eating and drinking together. Let's come have a good time, family. Wear your royal clothing. Come dressed to impress. And I promise you, we're going to have a great time.
Definitely.
Family, today we're going to review some videos of people who have recently left religion, and they're going to be explaining, why, and so we're going to look at what they're saying. If you guys have been there, if you're going through it now, let's see if you guys are kind of relating to what they're saying. We often feel very alone during that time of reviewing our own religion and trying to be accountable to what we believe and facing that with reality. That's a very difficult time for many of us. And like I said, we feel very alone. You're going to see that that's consistent with a lot of these people who are posting. And just so you can feel, so you can have an understanding that you are not alone. Okay, we many of us have felt these feelings. Many of us are experiencing this and not even admitting it. Okay, so if you're to the point to where, hey, you've been thinking this way, but you haven't said it out loud, if you've already said it out loud and you're going through excommunication and being judged and ridiculed and whatnot, you may actually connect with some of these videos. So without any further ado, I'm going to play some and we're going to see if we relate. All right, I got a few of them. And guys, I haven't watched these particular videos just yet. I've seen many of them though. From about 6 years ago when I first came out, maybe 7 years ago when I first came out of religion. There were a few videos out around that time, or maybe a year or so after. Queen Katt's video is around that same time. But these videos are more recent. So we'll review them for the first time together, family. All right, let's do this. I do have an IG. It's Kevin Wesley B_rise. So hit me up on Instagram, guys. Let's do this. Hang on. Present. Share my screen.
At 21 years old, after being raised independent fundamental Baptist, dedicating my life to Christ, graduating from an evangelical Christian university, and getting a job at a Christian homeless shelter, I found myself no longer able to believe that Christianity was true. The faith was everything to me, my source of purpose, the foundation of morality, the basis of my view of cosmology, my answer to existential anxiety, and the common ground in every single relationship I had. Without sufficient reason to believe Christianity was true, though, I had to leave all of that behind. That was about 5.5 years ago now, and while the life where I upheld the faith feels more distant and alien than ever, it's only recently become clear to me how much Christian programming still influences my inner world. I suppose that a few years ago, I thought that disavowing Christianity and leaving its communities was nearly all that was necessary to de-Christianize one's mind. Deconversion was most of the picture, I thought. The journey was largely behind me. The destination had been reached. I cannot and do not think that way anymore, though. This is why the term deconstruction now appeals to me more than deconversion. Realistically, leaving behind one's worldview, especially one that was meticulously programmed into you throughout your formative years, it doesn't happen in one fell swoop. It's a process, one that takes constant emotional labor, tedious introspection, and diligent self-care. For me, deconstruction better describes the process by which I've increased my independence from the faith, while also indicating that this process is still ongoing. I know that many of you out there can relate, so in hopes of encouraging others to speak openly about their ongoing deconstruction, I'd like to share a few things I'm still deconstructing over 5 years into this journey. Naturally, not all of the ideas I'll share here are fully formed.
Guys, this is amazing so far. I want you to, guys, please to hit like. We only got about 15 likes. We have many more than that watching. Please, guys, hit likes. It put us in the algorithm so we can reach more people who actually may be interested in this subject. So hit like for someone else, and so they can be able to see this, and then hopefully they can hit like, maybe even for someone else, family. All right, so let's get those likes up. Thank you very much. I'm going to hit play.
Formed, so just keep that in mind as we continue. My worldview as the exclusive path to moral behavior. There are absolutely not multiple paths to God, I was taught. The road to God's kingdom, to truth, to morality is narrow. If you want to do what's right, there's only one way, period. When I left Christianity and began rebuilding my understanding of morality, I held on to this notion in a way. I regularly saw well-intentioned people harm others as a result of their factually incorrect beliefs informing unwittingly harmful behavior. This led me to conclude that the key to promoting well-being was the propagation of ideology which championed empiricism and naturalism as necessary to informed moral decision-making. If everyone was a critical thinker, atheist, and naturalist like me, I thought, the world would be in much better order. Today, I still think that poorly informed beliefs do regularly inform harmful actions. Countless deaths have resulted from widespread ignorance of epidemiology in the last 2 years, for instance. Considering my naturalistic worldview and those who uphold it to be necessarily less prone to the adoption of false beliefs, though, I've realized is an unrealistic and tribal way of thinking. Now, I'm well aware that there is a body of data which suggests that atheists and naturalists tend to value critical thinking a bit more than most populations, while also being more scientifically and religiously literate on average than most. Still, though, that fact is not reason enough to conclude that atheism and naturalism exclusively lead to well-informed moral behavior. Can it be harmful to believe things that aren't true? Yes. If something is not true, is believing that thing harmful? Well, I used to answer yes, because a false belief has the potential to wrongly inform moral behavior. But I've since realized if I'm claiming that certain beliefs are harmful, I need to demonstrate that on a case-by-case basis. Beliefs which are true, after all, also have the potential to inform moral behavior in a harmful way. If you need an example of that as a fellow atheist or naturalist, just look at any atheist public figure who uses their rejection of superstition and fundamentalist Christian myths to lord their intellectual superiority over and constantly berate religious people who call into their...
Okay, guys, look, I completely understand where he is coming from. And this goes in line with, you can believe something so strongly and with well intent still be a terror on people around you, right?
Right.
I've seen this before many times in life. The elders within my church be crying and praying for people based on the lifestyle they were living. But they truly had this belief that the person they were praying for was on a road to hell. You understand, based on the literature and what they believed in. And you can see them going and trying to, push that belief on another person's life. You can see them get into your relationships by inferring that religion doesn't agree with your style of relationship, the type of person you're dating. We've seen this many times where you're being controlled by others and they don't realize that they're inviting terror upon you, but they're truly in fear of your soul. It's wild how they're able to do this.
Yeah.
But what I wanted from these videos is to show the emotional impact on people leaving religion, and he seems to be a little more put together. Because I'm reviewing these in real time, I didn't know this video was so put together. So I'll save this one for a later time. Let me grab a different video for you guys. What were you going to say, Katt, while I'm doing that?
No, I was just agreeing, like the saying goes, good intentions get you nowhere, like it's all about we have to learn to let people be, that's what I believe. Let people decide. We're all here to have an experience, and everybody's experience is not going to be the same, and once we get that, and everybody's experience is not going to be the same, just like everybody's relationship is not going to be the same, so I had that happen to me, and I talked about it on a previous live as well, where my ex-husband, his grandmother was a Buddhist. He was Japanese, so when he asked me, because he was getting more of the teaching from me, when he asked me, he was like, so you're telling me that my grandma's going to hell? And I responded, yes, and that was out of my ignorance, because that's how I was taught. Like he said in the video that we were just watching, he was just saying that there was only one way. And that's what I was taught. There is only one way. Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess. They had the opportunity to get to know Jesus before they died. And if that's what she chose, then she has to deal with that punishment. That was out of ignorance, So that's a part of me thinking that it came from a place of good intention, but it was not correct. I have no authority to put somebody in heaven or hell, so I can contest to that.
Absolutely. And that residue can still be there even when you switch over to lack of belief, because you'll start to believe that just because someone believes that they are in some type of danger, right, and their life is worse because they believe, and that may not be the case. Their belief could lead them to a better life.
Right.
And so I think that's what he was saying, that paradox of trying to say that our religion is bad and believing in something that's not true is inherently bad, when not necessarily. You understand? So even if everyone were critical thinkers, it wouldn't mean that we'd all have the same morals, or wouldn't have a problem with morality in some people. So that's based on person to person, right?
Right. And I also want to put this in you guys' ear. I'm not sure if you guys heard, I just heard about it this morning, that China is about to edit and rewrite the Bible, and China prints the Bible. So, just putting that out there for everybody who believes that this is the God-given truth. Man is about to edit the Bible once again in real time. So keep that in mind.
Also, the Bible is copywritten. Is a thing you should consider as well. So anyway, guys, this right here is another video. Let's listen to this one and we'll go from there.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. If you happen to find yourself here again, I'm sure you see the title, so you know what we're talking about today. And I feel like I have to talk about this personally because I don't see a whole lot of people talking about it, at least not people who look like me. And I feel like oftentimes we're kind of shamed for not being Christians as Black people. And it's just like, hey, listen, everybody's not the same, So yeah, this is going to just be like 5 of the main reasons. It's not all of them by any means, but these are like the 5 big ones. And I'm not trying to like send any hate to anybody who happens to still be a Christian or anything like that. Nah, this is just what I saw. And these are factors that contributed to me just having to kind of wash my hands.
So she's going to give you 5 reasons. I want you guys, if you're no longer religious, to think of your 5 reasons and put them in the chat. Okay, family? Let's go.
Of Christianity. So yeah, I do have some notes that I took, and so if you see me looking down, I'm just kind of reading everything so I can keep everything together. I don't want to miss anything, but yeah. So one of the first things that I kind of noticed in church was there was a social hierarchy, and that to me never really made sense, even as a kid, because in my mind we're all the same, like we're all servants of Jesus, are supposed to be. So why are you mistreating one particular person or one group of people, and you like revere this other group? Mind you, especially at the very first church that I went to, the people who were like closest to the pastor and everything like that were some of the most corrupt people in like the church. So y'all are doing the most dirt. Why are you trying to act like you're better than me? That was one thing. Another thing was there's just when this corruption did happen, it was almost like it wasn't supposed to make it out into like public public church knowledge, at least. And so like that's point number 2. Like there was kind of like a don't ask, don't tell policy in place at pretty much every church organization that I went to, that I was at for like long extended periods of time that I got to see. And that if something happens, I think everybody has the right to know. Prime example of this, I was 14 and happened to go on a youth church trip. And on this trip, some of the teenagers decided that they wanted to be a little grown, and engage in some grown activity. And there were 4 people who engaged in this activity, 2 boys and 2 girls. And when we got back, it happened to get back to the pastor that this happened. Well, caused a huge backlash, not only with the youth pastor at the time, but also with all of us, because we didn't say anything. And so the 4 who engaged in whatever happened were expected to come back to church and talk about it, to give their reasoning why they did it, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the 2 girls showed up and were literally forced to stand in front of the church and talk about what happened and why they did it. But the 2 boys, mind you, one of them was the pastor's son and one of them was like the assistant pastor's son. The 2 boys didn't show up, were never called at like a later service to say anything, none of that. And that caused such a big rift. I think one of the girls' parents ended up leaving the church, and then the other girl, they didn't stay very much longer after that either, because why would you hold these girls to one standard and then try and hold your own children to another standard? Mind you, couple years down the line, the pastor's son ended up having a child out of wedlock. So, it was kind of in there. And I'm not shaming him. You know what I'm saying? That's not a shaming tactic. But if you're going to shame these 2 girls, then you have to also hold your sons to the same standard. And they tried to keep, like, I wouldn't bring that up if they didn't try to keep the child a secret, because the pastor didn't want the greater church family to know that his son had a child out of wedlock, but it happened. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. Most of the church didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Like they were a little taken aback, but it's just like, yo, at this time it was 2014 or 2013, something like that. It is what it is. It's a thing. It happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
before she moves to her next thing, she talked about, the hierarchy, right? The social hierarchy in religion. I can relate to her on that. I don't know if that's one of my 5, but it's definitely up there. Okay. Why is it that God picks out a sole prophet, that he only reveals himself to that one person, and then those people have to believe that person about their God, and they don't get the same revelation as that person, right? Why is it that they have to follow that person? And this person could have lied and said that they spoke to a God, or God spoke to them, and they never prove it to these people, right? And so, yeah, that bothered me in the literature. It bothered me in the church when there's a pastor, a deacon, a bishop, and you do believe these people are closer to God. I mean, it's just one of the things you're brought up believing. They, in fact, are not. They'd like for you to believe that. And I can't speak for every one of them. I can't say that. Maybe many of them believe that we are on equal foot and just upholding different titles and serving under different wills of God. But I can understand her perspective as by means of believing in people, believing in God, and believing in God through people, and those people letting you down. This is why a lot of people will say, well, your church hurt. And even if that's true, it doesn't mean the belief is real. You can still be church hurt and still have reasons for not wanting to believe anymore, right? You cannot be church hurt and still have reasons for not wanting to believe anymore, right? So me, on the other hand, I wasn't church hurt. I didn't have these negative experiences in my church. That would be a negative experience, right? They went to camp. All 4 of them did it. Only 2 of them came forward. The other 2 were not required. And these girls stood up there and humiliated themselves by having to openly say what happened. That's very humiliating, that they have to go inside of the church and be seen by these people and probably likely judged by these people for the remainder, while these men didn't have to go through that. And then she even spoke to how that boy's behavior never changed, not because of the religion, but because maybe he wasn't treated the same and held to the same accountability. And that behavior persisted, right? You could see how a person inside the church could at least want to change churches, right? You got some of you guys are saying, well, churches are different. Your relationship should be with Jesus and Jesus alone. But that's why she has 5 reasons. That's one reason. Okay. If she gave me that one reason, I would say that's not a reason enough to leave religion itself, right? You may be serving in a church with people who are not upholding it, right? But I would say maybe find you a better church. You shouldn't leave the religion because of how people behave, right? That's one of the things that let me down. Is most people who claim to be Christian never read the book. They don't even care what the book entails. They believe that an actual God has inspired a book, a real God, but they've read books by other authors, but they've never taken the time to read the book that they believe is inspired by God. That always blew my mind.
Right.
But they want to argue with you when you don't believe in it anymore. But they've never read it. It blows my mind.
Right.
That lets you down. It lets you down when many people that claim to believe in it don't show that they believe in it at all. They just claim to be Christian, but their life does not line up with it at all. Right. And I think they claim to be Christian because they have the belief system, not that they are devout to the belief, right? And it causes a great misunderstanding in the Christian world, right? It let me down when I learned that people didn't care to know the literature enough to really make it applicable in their life. The way they celebrated their holidays was not, as it said, to celebrate God in the Bible, right? Christmas, Easter, these holidays are not biblically sound, right? You would be celebrating like the Jews or the tribes of Israel in the Bible, Jews being only one of those tribes, coming from the tribe of Judah and Dan, I believe, will be Jewish tribes. But the 12 tribes of Judah, and they all serve God according to how God told them to serve him based on the literature. So their days would be in line with more like the Jewish holidays. And I say that because the Jews continue to obey the food laws and the holy days that are given to you in your Bible. But the American holy days do not line up with the Bible at all. No one seems to question it. So you start looking at the Bible itself, then you look at the Christian tradition. They're totally different things. So Christianity is not biblical. So before I left religion, I became more religious. I simply said, let's do Bible things in Bible ways. Let's read this book and serve God the way God wants to be served, not how we want to serve God. I think that's backwards, right?
Right.
To put up a Christmas tree when God says, I don't want a Christmas tree, right? Do not chop the tree down and decorate it, right? In Jeremiah, it says. It tells you do not do this. They do not sing songs to it, right? For it is not alive, right? It is vain. It is an empty thing. But what do? Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. We literally sing songs to it, decorate it, adorn it. And their Bible says don't do it. Yo, it really bothered me to know I was contributing to something that biblically is wrong.
Right.
I told my church. They didn't care. They wanted to do it anyway. So I was let down in that way as well by seeing people not practice correctly. But I didn't run from who I thought was God. I got closer to who I thought was God. I began to read it even more now because I realized if I trust these folk and don't read it for myself, man, they'll take me to hell. Mm-hmm. So I got to read it for myself. So I really dove into it. And the more I read it, the more I realized they're not making it applicable. They're not living that life.
Right. Just like Jesus said, don't call me good, none be good but God. You know. And he also said, who, you know, when they asked him who he was, they said, "Who do you say I am?" He never said, like he pretty much, like you said, he talked in parables. And
Mhm.
it's just like when people get upset when you say that they are little gods, but all through the Bible, especially in the book of Psalms, Jesus reiterates that ye are gods. But if I call myself a god, a Christian will call me blasphemous, yet you said Jesus is your father. Okay, so people call me Cleo all the time. I could walk out and they, by my face, they could see my mom, right? So in their eyes, that's little Cleo right there. So if
Mhm.
Jesus is your God and Jesus calls you God throughout the Bible, then why get offended if I call myself God? Another thing, I'm losing my thought. Oh, in the book of Isaiah, where he says, I created good and evil. I, the Lord, doeth these things. We turn
Mhm.
around and we want to blame it on the devil. But he tells you, I created it. We live in a world of polarity. You're going to have
Mhm.
good and evil. That's the only way you can tell the other. You're going to have light and darkness. Jesus is telling you in the book of Isaiah, or God is telling you in the book of Isaiah, that I, the Lord, doeth these things. I created them both. But we want to blame things on Satan. So it's like
Absolutely.
he plainly says a lot of things, but when you tell these to adamant Christian believers, they make it seem like you're understanding the Bible wrong. It's plain. So that's that would you call it, cognitive dissonance?
Dissonance. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And it does let you down when you're talking to people who's supposed to believe, and they argue about things that are right there in front of their very eyes, right? And
Right.
they say, search the word and the scriptures, and the Holy Spirit will be there to guide you. And
Right.
it's very disturbing when they're claiming that the Holy Spirit is guiding them. You're believing it's guiding you, and yet y'all have two different perceptions of what it means.
Right.
It kind of it's just discouraging, because you say, okay, if the Holy Spirit is guiding us to read, and we're all reading with sincerity, and we're praying before we read, why are we coming back with different interpretations? Why is that the case? And it just begins to be a big letdown. That's why you have to read and try and research to what the words meant verbatim back then. So I went back and studied what it meant in the Hebrew. I didn't want it to be open to interpretation. I wanted to know the words and the language of my God. I felt like as long as I'm reading the Bible's interpretation of what the Hebrew words were back then, that I'm on the outside of my Father, right? Just imagine you have a spouse and they speak a totally different language than you. Okay, so you hire an interpreter to make sure you guys can understand each other. Man, your husband's trying to tell you things, you're trying to tell them things. This interpreter may change what you're saying to each other based on how they think it may sound to y'all, right? So they may mince words and take stuff out. So what you're trying to say to them might not directly convey, right? So if you say, I've had enough of this, if you keep behaving this way, I'm not going to want to be with you anymore. The interpreter might change your words, because they might say, I don't want to say it like that. I'm nervous to say that. So I feel like the closest way to be intimate with your spouse is to learn to speak their language. Get rid of that interpreter, right? So I said, you know what? I'm getting rid of the interpreter. I want to learn Hebrew for myself. So I took a class on biblical Hebrew. I wanted to go back and know what it meant, when they said it, why they said it, not what we're saying it means today. And I felt like, why don't other Christians care that much too? But even when you would break it down for them and they can go back and see that you're making sense to what that actually meant at that time. Let's say, for instance, a woman cannot wear the garments of a man. And so they believe that a woman cannot wear pants. She can only wear dresses, right? So when I took this to my church and I showed them that word, man garment, is more liking to soldier's uniform. And what it's suggesting in that scripture is that women should not pick up a sword. Women should not wear a soldier's uniform with the intention of going to war and lay their life down for their country. That is a man's position. That is not a woman's position. That's what that was saying. But now what do they say? They took that scripture and said it meant man's garment. Well, pants was unisex from the beginning. But if we don't do these types of critical thinking, we'll force this style of dress on a whole community of people and call our religion something other than Baptist. And that means that y'all cover up and y'all believe that over another thing, And if you're wrong, you've converted these people into dressing a certain way. And if they're supposed to hear from the Holy Spirit, why the Holy Spirit don't say that's wrong, right? That's a misunderstanding. And so to me, one of the biggest things, well, why do I have to go back myself and get all this information if the Holy Spirit is supposed to help me? I found that my knowledge and understanding of the Bible was behind my will to seek understanding through it. There is no Holy Spirit helping me and giving me some understanding that it's not given someone else. I'm going to have to take the time and pour into this word. And I wish that all Christians would do that instead of thinking that when I read this, it's just going to jump out at me, give me the interpretation, and it's going to be true. Because when you go say that interpretation to somebody else, they're going to tell you you're probably wrong.
Right.
You know, but I just wanted to
study to show you approval.
Say it again.
The Bible tells them to study to show yourself approval, but you can only study but so much, because they also say don't add to, don't take from, and that they believe that you can only get it from this one book. And that's why in my first book, #No Religion, I talk about the Council of Nicaea, where they discuss all these different things and they put into practice where if you disagree with how they believe, to go out after these people. That's why you have a lot of Christians to this day still trying to convert people and trying to give death threats and thinking that it's okay to say that I'm going to line some humans up and shoot them in the back of the head for being this way. They feel like that's okay because that's what was given down from these 40 bishops through the Council of Nicaea to tell people that if they disagree with what you're saying, it's okay to go after these people. So it's like it's indoctrination deep rooted into the reasons of why we're doing what we're doing. Just like and I love how you said you went back and studied Hebrew, because if you really want to go back into law, you have to study Arabic, and the only way you can get in the Library of Congress to a certain level in that back room, you have to be able to speak Arabic. But that's when you're going to understand the real law and the way they're hiding things from us in plain sight. But you have to go back and understand the original language that it was written in. So that's really important, not just with what you're talking about in the biblical sense, but it's also important in how this country was set up.
Yes, ma'am. You're absolutely right. You said that Hebrew thing. It got me to thinking. There was a time this guy said to me, he said, what kept him in religion for so long is he would notice lightning bolts in the sky were shaped like a Y, right? And he said he asked his pastor, why do lightning bolts and like veins in your leg and feet and arm seem to have this Y shape? And his pastor told him, that's because it's for Yahweh, right? And he said he believed it. And even when the Bible seemed to fall apart in front of him, he kept that belief because of that, right? Now, because of my knowledge, through my research, I was able to set him free from that. Yeah, okay, so I taught him that Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey are the 4 Hebrew characters that make up Yahweh, right? But it's not a Y, okay?
Wow.
Yod is not a Y, right? We write Yod with a Y with the American alphabet to spell Yahweh, right? Or Yod. But if you look at the Hebrew character, it's not a letter at all.
Wow.
Okay. So based on this incorrect belief, he was going to keep believing in that religion because he thought the letter Y was some type of significant thing, not just a symbol that humans made up.
Wow.
Okay. They have nothing to do with each other, right? And I've seen people who see an angel in the clouds or a bird in the clouds, and they think that that's somehow their religion speaking to them. And I shared with him, like that lightning bolt, that's not even a Y that you're seeing in a lightning bolt. What you're seeing is pareidolia, right? If you saw a Y-shaped stream, if a glass broke in the Y shape, what you're doing is that's called confirmation bias. You've seen many other shapes of lightning. You've seen many other shapes of veins. But confirmation bias will tell us, okay, that's all true, and it's shaped like a Y. Well, it being shaped like a Y has no indication that it's a Y. Pareidolia is when you see something that's shaped like something else that you know of, and so you see that in that image. So if you look in the sky and you see a bird, because you saw birds, now you see a bird in that cloud does not mean that cloud is a bird, right? Or that the cloud trying to send you a message about a bird, right? It doesn't mean that at all. That's just what your eyes are picking up, right? So let's say you look in the sky and you saw the shape of a heart, and people see this, right? But the heart shape that they see is the human symbol for a heart. Hearts ain't shaped like that.
Right.
So the cloud is not trying to tell you to love the sky, right? Or I love you, right? Jesus didn't just tell you he loved you because you saw a heart-shaped cloud, right? This is called confirmation bias. It's something that can lead us down a real terrible road. right? So that's why it's like we need to be careful to understand these brain fallacies that, these brain hiccups that we do. Even when we're in type, say, church, and we feel someone singing, or you hear music and all these powerful instruments going, when your hair stands on end and you feel chills, we liken to believe that is attached to the God that we're worshiping at that time.
Right.
Well, if you're dancing around a fire back in your tribal days, you're going to believe that those chills and that energy you feel is likened to maybe something outside of you as well. But you're feeling your own energy, you're feeling the own chemicals in your brain, in your body, right? Now, I find this amazing as someone who's outside of belief, because I look at humans as compared to other animals, and I recognize that we actually worship ourselves, where other animals don't do that. We praise our own selves. If we hear someone that can sing really, really well, it'll actually channel a place inside of us, and we can feel it inside of us. Right. We'll get chills and we'll celebrate that sound, right? If we see someone do something extraordinary, we'll stand up and cheer for them, right? We're literally praising each other. Humans are wowed by the things they can do. It's beautiful to me.
Yeah.
But if you're taught that's attached to something outside of yourself, you won't believe that you're truly capable. You understand? Right. So I think it's a big trip when I say that it's called a house of God, but it's made of dead trees. Mm-hmm. When the true house of God is out in nature, where everything's truly living, where the living God is. But they tell you that the house of God is in that building full of dead trees. But the Bible tells you that God does not dwell in buildings made of hands.
Right.
He dwells in a temple that's not built with the banging of a hammer, right? So truly God is internal inside of your consciousness, but we're taught that God is in this building made of dead trees, when we should be recognizing that the living God is out in nature, where the trees are the other half of our breathing apparatus, right? When they are our shelter and our home and our natural world.
Right.
You see, so I feel like our energy being usurped. For instance, when we worship, we put our hands in the air like this, giving our energy to the person singing, right? Mm-hmm. Or to the person preaching and whatnot. If you're outside and you turn those palms towards the sky, you're going to absorb the sun. You can feel your hands even get warm. Humans have been doing these things long before we were told that you do that to worship a God. We did this simply to recharge. Right. You know, when it comes to lifting your hands to the air, grounding through the soles of your feet to the earth, sun gazing, which means staring at the sun, basking in the sun, turning our undersides up towards the sun, helps to strengthen our testosterone. Right. And help, seriously, it makes us stronger by activating more testosterone in your body. We eat the sun. Mm-hmm. Okay. So a lot of these things that we do were stolen from other cultures, where they simply were absorbing the sun. And right. When we look at that through our eyes, we say, oh, they were worshiping something above them. Mm-hmm. They was absorbing the sun, not observing the sun, absorbing the sun. Yeah. Right. So when I look back through history and look at what we do now and say the mindset on our eye, our mindset when we stretch our hands forward is that we're worshiping a God. Right. Well, because we were taught that, right? Right. But we're doing this inside of a building, so we're not absorbing the sun from our hands, but we feel drained after we give this worship because we left from outside absorbing the sun and came in and gave that energy outward without receiving it inward, right? Right. So a lot of times you feel drained because you feel like the Holy Spirit has moved through you and about you, but you simply contributed to a very energetic moment between you and your energetic beings. We are powerful, truly powerful. And I see it as what we believe in is only conduits to tap into our true power, right? Whether you are religious, whether you're not, whether you are a Christian, whether you're a different religion, whether you hold up a cross or an ankh, those things don't hold the power. You do, right? The power, you can channel that power through that thing if you believe in it, making it a conduit. But if you could only understand that your power is not accessed through that thing, right? And I just wanted to pause it there for a second because I relate to that first point, okay? Katt, if it's anything you don't want to, anything you want to add or whatever, go ahead. And if not, I'll go ahead and play and see what else she has.
Yeah, I came up, with church hurt as well, so I can relate to that. That didn't stop me from leaving religion because once, pretty much we were kicked out of the church or requested out of the church to an extent, treated so bad that we had to leave out of the church. We started our own ministry, and when we started coming into the knowledge, the people that would worship with us started watching, and they started to decide that they didn't want to worship with us anymore because they saw us practicing yoga, learning yoga, and they said yoga was demonic and my mom started talking about chakras, and they said chakras was demonic, you know. So it was like, we stayed in.
But with good intent, right?
Yeah, it was like, I mean, we can't exercise. Like exercising is demonic, but you know, that's what it was. So, yeah, I dealt with the church hurt, as far as the cliques and the people crying woe is me, and people not coming to church with my grandfather because he was too old school, and then him dying, and these same people that were sick and not coming to church because he was old school all of a sudden just got revived, and now the church is packed. The same people that were ready to turn in resignations are now ministers and leaders and apostles now. So to see that is sad, you know, puts a bad taste in your mouth to see people break up families and break up just with lies, you know. It still hurts to this day, but that's not why I walked away. But that's what some people would say, like how you said, oh, they walked away because these people did them so bad. No, I still, like I tell people all the time, I still would go to a good church service because I like it. Like I would go see an artist sing, or, you know, I would still go see, you know, a celebrity, even though I might not believe in necessarily what they're singing. There's certain things that I still like, so I'll still go to it. You know, like I said, I just understand it now. Versus, you know, a person that's like, back in the day, they would say you can't go to a club unless you agree with the people in the club. So I have enough willpower to be able to go to a club and not drink, but a drunk might not have that same willpower. So he might say, I went to the club and they persuaded me to do this, or no, I got enough willpower. Just like I got enough willpower to go to a club and still be me, I have enough willpower to go to a church service or a mosque or whatever and take the principles that I can relate to or that I need from it and go about my merry way, you know. But I can't relate to the church hurt. I can't relate to the judgment of changing. And like when we had the second ministry and we started changing, people would literally come to the church and we're singing and, you know, in our own zone, having a good time, and they would just be staring. Like they would just be looking for something, looking at the unks that were, you know, up, looking at what we had going on the screen, looking at how we were dressed, just standing there trying to clap, but just looking for a reason to not enjoy yourself. Nothing's going on. It's just like, I'm going to send you the video for the next time we do the live where I talk about when I was coming out, you know, and people are you're looking for me to be different. No, you know something different about me. I haven't changed. It's just that you know everything about me now, and you're changing because you don't want to accept that. You don't want to be okay with that. But the person has not changed. I'm still Anita, you know, like, so that's what I went through, just trying to tell people like, okay, you know how I believe now. You know, I'm still who you thought I was. My singing ain't got no God in it now because I'm gay, you know, but you was just shouting last week. What happened? You know?
Where was their discernment so they should know that already, you know?
Exactly. Why you couldn't see that?
Right. And I want you guys in the comments to know that I will give you guys about 5 or 10 minutes and let you guys come on and talk with us. If you are Christian and you want to ask a question, debate a certain idea, if you understand where we're coming from and you want to, you know, talk about a little bit of your experience, that'll be all absolutely fine. Okay. As soon as we get finished with this video, and I won't keep pausing it, but, you know, I will give you guys a little moment after, right? But Queen Katt, you said something that was so brilliant about yoga was looked at as demonic, meditation is looked at as demonic. Right. And but when I learned this, I was just like, what if this is a way to keep you from tapping into your body? Right. Okay, and being able to control these emotions and chemicals in your body that you feel whenever you go shout, because you can trigger them, right, through hearing the music, right, through hearing powerful words, and through having many energy beings outside of you, around you, you know, chanting and touching you and all this stuff. It can give you a lot of energy. That inspiration and motivation can give you energy, but you can channel that from within through meditation, right? You can move energy throughout your body through yoga. You can heal your body through yoga, right? It increases your blood flow in your biological vessel, not just your spirit being. So we know that it works on all three fronts, mind, body, and soul. You can prove it and demonstrate it on every front, but they would say it's demonic. So it looked like it was to keep you from locked out of yourself, to keep you in an avatar that you don't even understand, to keep you in. Imagine getting an automobile and with no book. You got all these buttons, right? and they don't tell you what it does,
Right.
right? That's what we are. We don't know who we are. That's why we're so sick all the time. We don't know what's the right foods. We'll believe in God and be eating the wrong foods.
Right.
And your foods is what's making you sick. And we're saying, God, why aren't you healing me when you are your healer? And because you don't know your body and you don't have the knowledge to eat the right foods, you're believing on someone outside of yourself to heal you when you are actually the cause of your sickness. You go back and put that same poison back in your body. When if you stop doing that, if you just go on a fast, your body will begin to heal itself because it's constantly healing, right? If you get a little cut right now, your body's going to start working on that. It does that when you eat something that's bad for you. But the problem is we make a bad habit of eating those negative foods, and we stack and stack and stack, and we're making ourselves sicker to the point to where we give ourselves disease.
Right.
And we can take our diseases away by self-control, right? But this is a mental thing. So if you're not taught that it's the food that you're eating, and the Holy Spirit doesn't tell you, you have to go get the knowledge for yourself.
Right.
And it doesn't seem that the Holy Spirit tells anybody that the crap we're eating on a daily basis is poison. It doesn't seem to. So you have to learn this and make these decisions and make it applicable for yourself. It's nothing gonna make you do that, right? And that's what it means to truly become a new creature, to truly become new. You have a diet. You don't put in your body what you used to, right? And that means through your ear gate, your eye gate, or your mouth gate. You simply become what they call consecrated, right? Set apart, sanctified. That's what it truly means, man.
Right.
But I'll hit play, guys. Let's get to the rest of the video.
That to me just never made sense. Why you have certain people who are treated one way and then everybody else is treated another way. Like, they don't get down. Third thing that I kind of noticed was there was I won't say a complete, but in a lot of cases, there was a lack of empathy that the pastors tend to have, like outside of like actual service. You know what I'm saying? There was one particular instance at my very last church that I ever went to, where in the service, sat with the pastor, he prayed with me, you know what I'm saying? We sat, talked, great conversation, you know what I'm saying? Like, really felt like he was trying to get to know me, like make a connection. Well, the very next Sunday that I came back, there happened to be there was something going on after service, and I wanted to just kind of sit and talk to the pastor because, you know, we had a great conversation last week, you know what I'm saying? And it's sure it's outside of church or whatever, it's after church, but you know, why not go up, trying to talk to him? He could not be like, he couldn't care less what I was trying to talk to him about. Couldn't care less, totally dismissive. And it wasn't just me, he was pretty much like that with almost, well, I'm not gonna say that. I would say he was dismissive like that with people who look like me. Let's just say it that way. Which again is a major problem. We are all the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're getting up here and you're talking about how, you know, Jesus died for all of our sins, right? That includes you, that includes me. So again, why are you trying to mistreat me? That don't work. And honestly, that particular instance was where I kind of washed my hands of the Christian church. And the thing for me that solidified it was going in and studying, not really studying, just taking a step back and looking at my overall experience with church and doing some, I guess, a little bit of studying and like research as far as like the history of Christianity. And what I found, I could not in good conscience continue on a Christianity. This was what was used to enslave my people. You know what I'm saying? My father's Liberian, so I have a direct connection back to the motherland. Like, if this was used to take Black people from Africa and brought over here, and it was a tool that was first used to strip them of their identity as like where they come from, their tribal identity, and then also as a method of then continuing to keep them subdued and in control, taking away their culture, their cultural identity once they got here to the motherland, and then for 400 years continued to be implemented on their children and their children's children, et cetera, as a tool of demeaning and overall just like keeping them enslaved mentally. How?
Wow. So that point three that she made, I would say that she recognized maybe some racism or gender bias inside of this pastor, because she said people who look like us, but I'm assuming she means black. Maybe she had a white pastor, but this would point to a low development in the man, not God, right? So I know a lot of people would say, well, that's not a reason to leave Christianity, and that is not. That person got some inner work to do if they're behaving that way, and but it is sad, because here you are supposed to be led by God, but you haven't taken the time to completely. Well, and who's to say you can? But it brings into mind, like, a person can say they're devout for a God, but still actually be underlying racist or biased in some way, to where the people that are led by you can see it, right? And you can let a lot of people down, and they can see that you're mistreating them. They're not stupid, right? They're very smart, and especially they doing this week after week, right? But she did say she spoke to him the week before, and everything seemed fine. So this could have been some confirmation bias. Maybe she thought that he was doing that day. Like, if you talked to her the day that's the week before, but maybe this is something you talk to him directly about. Maybe get a couple of the members who look like you, see if they feel the same way, and go talk to him directly about. But I wouldn't leave Christianity for that, right? Now, she is going through several things. This next thing she said, I completely get. That's one of mine. If you remember my video, it was, this book was used to enslave my ancestors, and I refuse to believe in that. And it's not that the book was used, because humans can manipulate anything. Right. They even tore out some pages, wouldn't let black people read the whole book. Slaves read the whole book. So you can see how something could, and you can't blame God for that, right? I mean, you would say, God, why didn't you stop him? But that's just us trying to infer blame on the God, right? If someone did that to manipulate you, that person did that thing to manipulate you. But then when you read the Bible itself, the problem is it doesn't prohibit slavery. It tells you how to go about slavery, right? It says don't enslave some people, right? If you're caught with a Hebrew slave, you should be put to death. But it doesn't say slave. Don't not enslave, period. It's not one of the 10 commandments. And if you are a person who know that your line was directly enslaved, this will bother you. Now, in fact, white and black people are descendants of slavery. Now, most people are not aware of this, so they don't have a problem with the Bible used to enslave them as a people, because that's not their history, right? But in fact, they were slaves, and we all have been slaves, even to black people as well. Now, when you look at transatlantic slavery, right? Now, you're thinking about the Abrahamic religions was more so used on transatlantic slavery. So we would say the Bible was used to convert slaves into Christians, right? And so, but the Quran is used to convert slaves into Islam. We've seen this. People convert their slaves into their religions with their religion. They just do, right? I can understand why a person says, I refuse to accept this religion anymore, because it was used to subjugate and dominate my people. And the literature inside of it validates it. Yo, that's a problem. Even if they justify it by saying, well, you are worshiping false gods, so you needed to enslave me to what? So I would stop? Like, what? That makes no sense, And yeah, that was definitely one of my main problems in my video about the slavery. What do you think?
Yeah, one for me as well. And like you're saying, every time they corrected that Bible or changed that Bible, the laws changed as well. So like I said earlier, China is in the works of rewriting and editing the Bible once again. So just know that some laws are about to change, and know that some more indoctrination is about to change. So if you're not in there and know that book for yourself, like we were talking about earlier, anything can go, because they'll say, hey, it's in the Bible, not knowing that they just put that there, and whatever.
Like heaven and hell. That wasn't in there in the beginning. It was added.
Right. So, and that's our main source. They print the book. They print the books. China is responsible for printing the Bible. So, I mean, I want to know what a lot of people have to say about that. What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to decipher what's real, what's real and what's not? And because they're not, I'm trying to see how they are saying that this stuff actually happened or it didn't happen. Like they're taking stuff out. I want to know how are we going to preach from this stuff from now on?
Right, but see, because we can say that because we're living it, we're watching them revise and make changes, right? We're watching them do this. But because we were born after the fact that we have this book, it seems holy and more sacred because
Right.
we didn't see humans working with it. We were
Right.
removed from that. So now we're seeing this. We're seeing the many additions and revisions of the Bible, and so we should be starting to think now.
Mhm.
But if you go further back, take yourself back a couple hundred years, because the Bible has not been here for 2,000 years, as many of you guys believe. Take yourself back around 500-600 years when they are putting this Bible together, right? When they are voting the books in and they are getting the Gutenberg printing press. And imagine you hearing about this, right? They're beginning to print the Bible. They're beginning to mass produce it, right? Don't you see how people back then would be like, man, I ain't about to sit here and give my life to a Bible that's right now being published.
Right.
Like, it's easy for you to come along after the fact, and these pages seem so worn and they're printed on this really thin paper, and it's given to you and said the Holy Bible, the Holy Bible.
Right.
It's already deemed holy before you read it. It's already deemed the Word of God before you even crack it open. So it's amazing how when you come after the fact, how much easier you could be duped and rocked to sleep. And I saw someone put in the comments, God is not evil or good. He's just as should be. I can't make out the name there. I like that because that's what I say God is. God is simply consequences, right? Consequences. And not simply consequences, because God would encapsulate a whole lot more than that. But let's just say that's what I believe he means there by being just, right? It's consequent. You cannot avoid them, not even God. Like I said, God made Satan, and God is still having to deal with him based on the literature. So not even God can avoid consequences, right? But I'll continue.
How could I, in good conscience, saying that I love myself, how could I, in good conscience, continue to live my life under the label and the guise of Christianity? I could not do it. I refused. I refused to do that vehemently. I had to let it go. Like, it doesn't work. And it's honest. It, like, calling myself a Christian, if I still was, that would be disrespectful to my ancestors. I don't want to do that. I cannot do that. I refuse to do that. So I had to, like, let it go, and it's honestly been one of the most freeing experiences I can honestly say I've ever had in my life. The amount of just mental anguish, stress, and bondage I felt like I was under for all those years that I, proclaimed Christianity for myself. I have never, like, I was a Christian, but I wanted to kill myself. You know what I'm saying? And, like, that's not supposed to be a thing. Christianity
Wow, that's
teaches,
heavy.
on the surface, it teaches you love and acceptance and all these things. Well, how can you teach love and acceptance that sounds good, but that's not what's actually being carried out in the broader scheme of the church. And it happens all over. It's literally all over. Look at the corruption that goes on in the the Catholic Church, how they're always trying to hide stuff, shifting all these people around, to keep a secret. Like, come on now. We cannot ignore the lack of true love and togetherness that exists. At least I can't. I couldn't, and I refuse to do that or subject anybody that might come through my line to that. I'm not going to do that. So yeah, that's just a few of the reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, there are many more reasons why I am not a Christian, but these are, I would say, the big five. So, and that's another thing. This is like off topic. This isn't one of the five, but this is something I noticed, that there is a complete lack of actual love for Mother Earth when Mama Earth gives us everything. You know what I'm saying? We get food from her, we get shelter from her, we get water from her. And it's almost just like a non-factor when it comes to Christianity. That's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't you want to love on and appreciate and nurture the very the very being that kind of gave you life. Like, come on, no, yo. And then to like disregarding the ancestors when you wouldn't be here, and like you wouldn't be here without them. You would.
I'm gonna pause it right there for a second because she is dropping some serious gems um, right there. I don't know if you remember this, Kat, but I've said this, that our belief in God and that God is up has caused us to neglect the very earth below our feet. So they
Right.
say, lift your eyes to the hills from which cometh your health, right? Your help. And you're supposed to pray to that God that is up there when really your food comes from below your feet. Your
Right.
foundation comes from below your feet, right? Your very shelter grows from beneath your feet.
Mhm.
Rain comes from beneath your feet. It's evaporated from the earth and it comes back down. It's
Right.
like the sun comes from above, right?
Mhm.
If the world is round and we're on the top, it comes from above. If we're on the bottom, I guess the sun is under us. Who knows? You know?
Well,
You know, but now I always think that's crazy how, you know, the earth is truly everything to us, but we ignore it and look up to a God that's completely invisible, you know. And I think that the earth is God. I think that that's one and the same. I think that our experience, where we drew our life from and what we go back to when we die, is God. Just like our ideas of God, that God is outside of this universe. And I can see that a lot with religion, and maybe it's just the culture of American religion, but we do tend to not care much about the nature around us, you know, and destroy the world.
right.
I was trying to think if there were any scriptures right off in the Bible that speaks about preserving the earth and how the world would look if we were truly following the Bible, word for word, if we would still be doing the same. I have to do some research on that and see. It probably is, though, some scriptures that it's not a biblical thing that we don't take care of the earth. That's probably a human thing and ignoring something that's also in the Bible.
Right.
The thing she spoke to before that was really got me, because she said that she was contemplating in her own life while she was in a religion that claims to love her. I can remember being in church and asking my youth ministry before I became youth pastor. When I was a youth minister, I would ask them, "Do you feel like God loves you?" You know, and you know, most of them said no. They said they know God loves them based on the literature, but do you feel like God loves you based on maybe your prayers being answered, based on feeling comforted by God, feeling like God listens to your emotions and helps you regulate them? Do you feel like God loves you, right? And most of them said no. If I went off of how I felt, I wouldn't say God loves me, which tells me that they're not, that, you know, there's something underlying, even maybe in the Bible, how they're being treated at church. And
Right.
with her, she spoke to two of them, the Bible and how she's being treated at church. This
Right.
man seems to mistreat her, and then the religion itself seems to justify that mistreatment, that mistreatment of your ancestors, right? Now, a key is this: many Black people who learn that religion justifies slavery, they still kept the religion. So a lot of people will even take that from her and say that's not even a reason to leave your religion. They'll say it's good that we were enslaved, and this is because we were able to find the one true God. If we had kept on the path we were on, worshiping false gods, then we would have never gotten to, or we would have never gotten an opportunity to know God via slavery. As harsh as slavery was, they are thankful for it because it's how they found Jesus. Now, I'm telling you, that may sound crazy to most of you guys on here, but people like that do exist.
Right.
Okay. But she looked at it like, okay, it justifies this horrible thing that happened to my ancestors, you know? So I felt like her.
Yeah.
Why, you know, that's not right, you know? But it was crazy because I've been on both sides. Years before that, I was like, God, if it takes slavery to get to know you, then let there be slavery. You know, it was, and it sounds cynical, but I was saying that because I love my belief in God and who I thought was God that much that I just didn't care to look back and think about all the harsh things my ancestors went through, you know?
Right. And one thing that I thought about when she was talking about the mistreatment or just the lack of attention and love in the church, what I've noticed from coming up in the church, like I was brought up in the church. I didn't just grow up and say I'm gonna go to church. I was raised in the church, and the love was something that was major in our, you know, in our ministry coming up, hugging people, checking on people, and making sure people had. That's what I believe that church was designated for. Um, but there was a video that Spoken Reasons did where this girl, she was like, I don't know what's wrong. You know, I'm lonely. I pray and I have friends. You know, I have all these people around, and she was literally like touching herself. Like, I feel like I'm about to leave here. Like, I want to leave here. And everybody kept saying, oh, baby, you need to pray. I'm like, no, she needs a hug. Like, have we gotten so far? You know, what's the saying? You are so heavenly minded, you are no earthly good.
Mm-hmm.
So where you see somebody that's suffering and you tell them to pray or seek God, you just need Jesus. No, she needs a hug. She needs human physical contact. You can tell me you love me all day, but sometimes I need you to hug me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like that's what I feel like. If you are going to be in the church, in ministry, it can't just be about the bodily exercise. It can't just be about the motivational speeches. You know,
Right.
It has to be about the morality and being good to people. And like she said earlier, you see the pastors, they come in, they don't speak to nobody. They stay in their study until it's
Mm-hmm.
right about time for them to perform, and they sit down and they don't get involved in the service. They don't clap. They sit down and they study people. Who can I prophesy to right now? Let me look at that person's body language. They look like they're going through something. I'm gonna call you up here, and because you're going through something, and I tell you you're going through something, immediately you cry because somebody see that I'm going through something. Yet I was the person, right? Because I was a singer and because I could bring the service up, nobody saw that I was going through something.
Mm-hmm.
And that bothered me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would sit there and I would wait. Nobody ever prophesies to me. Nobody ever says that I'm hurting. Yet I am ministering and I'm making everybody feel good, but nobody see me. You know? So stuff like that, I can relate to what she said. You know, those pastors, you're all involved in, like, you care while you're doing your performance. After the show is over, you know what I'm saying? When church is over and I happen to catch you, do you have that same energy? And a lot of them do not, because it is a job for a lot of people. It is a source of income for a lot of people. Everybody doesn't really care. Some people just love the performance of it all, you know? And that just depends on, like you said, it's not a religious thing. You know, it might just be a person that you're dealing with at that time. Like, I don't make excuses for anything. Like, I walked away from it because I walked away from it. You know, like she said, I didn't like the permission for rape. I didn't like the permission for slavery. I didn't like, a lot of stuff that was going on in the Bible. And even while I was in church, a lot of stuff that they would say, I would not say that part. Like, in the prayer where it says, not my will, but your will be done. I never agree with that. I don't know what your will is. I might not like your will, so I'm not going to say that part. You know, like, we have to be mindful, just like how we're singing these songs that's coming on the radio. You have to be careful because words are spells,
Absolutely,
so all these stuff you're saying and you're causing damnation on yourself, and if you don't study and you're just taking stuff that people give you, like they're about to give you another edited Bible, you're doomed. You're going to be doomed and you're going to be headed for destruction, because whoever controls the media controls the people.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how, we as humans have this, I would say it's a deficiency. While we are very intelligent, probably the apex of intelligence in our modern world compared to all of the animal species.
Right.
It's just amazing how we can be rocked to sleep with a book and literature like that, and convincing, to the point to where they can usurp our critical thinking and have us laboring for something that isn't real, potentially, without research. And that's the most dangerous part, that we'll do it without research. I think that's something that I think humans should definitely evolve out of. It's scary,
Right.
because you can take somebody's, what I would call their soul, by simply convincing them to believe in something or programming them to believe in it, And if somebody came to us right now with some book and told us, that it was written by a God, we'd all doubt. So we know that we were coaxed into believing this slowly but surely, or groomed into believing this.
Right.
And one of the things or the questions that used to come to my mind is, why would God use a Bible to convey his word to his people? An almighty God who speaks to this day, right? Who could speak to us internally. Why would a God depend on a book to reach his people? And this concept that God can do that has many people with a different book. Each of them believe they have a different God who chose to use a book. Blows my mind. And if it's a book, why not just believe in the first book and deem all other people as copycatting? Because it'd be weird for God to copy what humans are doing in a book and also use a book, knowing a book is already used to say God wrote it, right?
Right.
If God ain't the person who gave the first book, he certainly shouldn't be the one who gave the second or the third one, right?
Right.
So I thought, is the Bible the oldest book? I'll take the Bible. But then I learned the Bhagavad Gita is 3,000 years older than the Bible. So it's like, wait a second, time out. That's a totally different literature. I'd have to totally undo what I believe in the Bible and adopt a totally different belief if I was to go now to Hinduism, right? And do I really solely want to place my faith into Hinduism simply because it's older than the Bible? Because the question still remains, why would a God use a book? You see, it's mind-blowing. And when you start asking yourself these questions, I believe that those questions alone is what helps to set the mind free. I always say, imagine that you're tied up into a bunch of rope. The way you escape is just struggle, start to move. And a lot of times we haven't begun to critically think. So our brains are on autopilot and they're atrophied, right? So you got to start asking questions about your religion. You got to start asking questions about your belief. And don't just ask the questions, do research when the question comes to mind, right? And if you find it, and don't do it with a non-biased way. I never said, hey, I don't want to believe in religion no more. I went through it trying to believe in religion, trying to keep my religion. I had to be accountable to what I learned. And that's what made me leave religion. And often people say, well, just come back to it. You decided to not believe in it. I did not decide to not believe in it. After the information that I learned, I could not choose whether I believed in it or not. You know, it's like after I've learned so much about the world, the size of the world, I can't choose to believe in Santa Claus. Okay. The data that I understand about the world is far too great for me to be able to believe in Santa Claus, right? I know that a person can't travel the earth in one day, right? I know this person doesn't have elves and reindeer. I know it. I know it. Now, as a child, I didn't know how big the world was. So Santa Claus could likely do those things, right? So when people say that you're taking you're making the choice to not believe in religion, shame on you. It's not something that we can actually control. Your purview is yours, and that's probably not something that you can control. You know, that's why I say we have to come together and look at this without judgment, man. If I read something and you read something, we come to different understandings of it. If religion ain't involved, we could halfway be fine with that. But if you include religion, it's almost like I have to hate you if you don't come to the belief, you know? Guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let her finish the rest of this. It's only about a minute here, and then I'm going to open the lines up. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the link in the chat, and we're going to take 20 minutes and talk with you guys. And then until next time, guys, hang on one second. Let me get this link. Copy the link, copied, post it. The link is in the description. I'm going to finish the video. 1 second.
Would not exist without your ancestors. Like, I'm sorry, it's a lot. So I could literally talk about this all day. But yeah, that's just some of the reasons why I'm no longer a Christian. If you got anything out of this, let me know down in the comment section below. Yeah, go out there, live your best life. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's Christian or not. I'm not trying to sway anybody with this video to leave Christianity. I'm literally just giving you my personal reasons as to why I left. You know what I'm saying? Take this information and use it how you will. You know, this is just for me and mine. So yeah, that was the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave me a like down below. Leave me a comment. And I hope to see you guys in a future video. Peace and love and light to you all. Deuces.
Shout out to her. That was a good video. My leaving of religion was more based on fact and research of trying to prove religion outside of the book. I looked at it like if you got, you know, Harry Potter, Spider-Man, any book, unless you go outside of that book, you cannot disprove that book. In that book, Harry Potter is real. In that book, Allah, and all the characters are real, right? And so if you want to try and prove if something is real in reality, you got to look in reality. So I went on a mission to try and see if the Bible, if what I believed in, and not just the Bible, guys, all religions really, I learned that they were based more so on faith rather than in fact. Okay. Um, that's the main reason that I left religion. Because even if I thought that God did endorse slavery, if I believed in God, I ain't trying to go to hell. I would have to serve this God, family. So I wouldn't be against God simply because I disagree with God. The Bible clearly states that our ways are not like God's ways. So I'd have to accept that truth and say, God is my God, regardless, right? And I would just have to learn to be more like God. I'd have some work to do, right? I have to humble myself before this God who is clearly greater than myself, okay? But if I don't have facts to prove this literature, then I have every right to not believe in it until I have evidence to support it or demonstration to support it. And that's why I left religion. After that, I became very enlightened and inclined in many different areas about religion, understanding that the Bible is Zodiac, that it's numerology, that it's beautiful parables, it's some history. Um, so it can be a very good book as it has a lot of philosophy in it, a powerful quotes that can change your life for the better, stories that seem horrible but can give you perspective. If you believe in it, it just seems very horrible and grotesque and can have you questioning your beliefs and things like that. But honestly, I like my view of religion better now than I did in religion. Okay, I have a more open mind to it. So I love what my mind does when I read from religious texts, and I love it. I do, and not just the Bible. I love it all. I probably love the Bible more now than I did as a Christian.
Right.
So a lot of people think I hate the Bible and hate religion all in of itself. I've always loved the study of like ancient thought, whether that be in the study of Greek gods, what each god meant and what their lifestyle was, what they wore. Studying the Hindu gods was something that was beautifully amazing to me. Why did Ganesha look the way he looked? Why does he carry the instruments and the weapons that he carry? What do they mean? Even his nose, his ears, his eyes, his belly have symbolic meanings, which is why they use an elephant to express who Ganesha is. And it shows you how deep they thought back then. They were truly brilliant, truly brilliant. It was our first anime, our first movies and cartoons, right? They really did let their imagination go to work.
Right.
We're trying to define and the world, right? A lot of it's linked to great knowledge, profound knowledge that these entities are only symbolisms for, right? They're not truly entities, but if you understand what the entities mean, it's profound knowledge into a whole way of life or a culture at that time. It is absolutely amazing to me, So I know a lot of you guys have a different view of the Bible, but I just wanted to say that for those of you who think I'm on a mission to destroy the Bible or hate the Bible or that I hate Christians, I love them all. I love all of you guys. Okay.
Right.
So if you are a Christian and Christianity helps you move forward in your life, then you keep being a Christian. If you don't care, I always say, do you care if it's truly real or not? And if it's truly real to you, you don't have a problem with where you are in your Christian walk, stay in your Christian walk. We are never encouraging that. But there are a world of people out here who just left religion, not just Christianity, who feel alone, who are trying to put their life back together, who want to reinvent themselves and develop their own moral outlook of this world. And that's who we are here for. So if you're firm in your beliefs and you want to keep believing in your beliefs, this is not for you, family. It's for the people who have fallen out of their belief and are looking for, a strong support group, new people with, a mindset that's more likely to how they think now. So they're not out here left alone.
Right.
So hopefully you guys can understand that and, have some patience with us as we grow in our understanding. Maybe we'll come back to Christianity. We can't sit here and tell you that you're wrong. It's not about that. Okay.
Right.
I will try to make that known, Queen Katt, because they'll think that because you don't believe the way you used to or the way they do, that you are an enemy, and we are not their enemies at all. And and like the first guy said, most atheists, agnostics have studied and understand their literature better than them.
Right.
And it's because of that they do not believe the same as they do. And if they haven't taken the time to do that same type of research, they probably shouldn't come to the conclusion that we are bad people because of our ideas after doing that research, right?
That
It makes no sense, you know.
yep. I mean that
Anything you'd like to add, Love?
yeah. Tell people the same thing. We're not attacking. I'm not against. Like I tell people all the time, I never left church. You know, we're out of church when COVID started. You know, we left church then. And since my mom has been ministering out of her home, my mother is an apostle. Like I could never just say, oh, this is not real and this, that, and the third. Like he said, we are giving people another outlet. You know, we're not acting like certain things don't exist, which is what a lot of people tend to do in ministry, where this is really happening. People are walking away from the church. People are feeling alone. And so we are here to tell those people that you are not alone. We have a community. We believe, you know, like you believe, we understand, and we're here for you. And like he said, if you're not one of those people, this is not for you. We have to get to a place where I feel like the internet has given everybody an option to just demean and belittle everybody and feel like they have to say something. But it's just like in certain arguments, when you're dealing with certain people, you learn to walk away. You learn to not respond. You learn to be silent. As a woman, you know, our biggest power is silence, you know. So, but that takes knowing, being able to study your surroundings, being able to study who is coming at you. And it's just like what we talked about earlier with health, you know. I'm just getting over like a little issue with my skin because I took too much vitamin D, and I felt like I needed vitamin D because I was fatigued. And my mother had a lack of vitamin D a few years ago, and her mother had a lack of vitamin D, you know, before that. So I just figured since I'm tired and I'm taking my supplements, then I need to add more vitamin D, which caused me to have an allergic reaction, you know. So because I was trying to mimic, you know, trying to help myself, I had good intentions, I almost hurt myself, you know, because I was trying to take something that was good for somebody else, but not necessarily good for me, you know. So religion, like he said, might be good for you, but it might not be good for this person. You know, this person might not be a logical thinker. You know, maybe they are a dreamer. You know, maybe they are a person who decides to do more. You know, I not to come off insulting, but I feel like a lot of religion are for people who don't want to do no work. You know, who want somebody to tell them what to do. I didn't go to the military because I didn't want to be told what to do. I didn't go to college because I didn't want to be on somebody's schedule. That's just not me. It's never been me. You know, I like my own time. I like to do what I want to do. And so I'm not really a logical thinker at all times. You know, I'm more on the creative side. What might work for you will not work for me, you know, and that doesn't make me a bad person. You know, it's just we come from different walks of life. Like I said earlier in the video, Earth is a school. Everybody, I feel like God is on this realm in everything, experiencing everything at all times through everybody and everything. Meaning, I can't walk up to a dog and kick a dog because that's God. I can't look at a cat and say, oh, I don't like cats because that's God. I can't go and just kill a snake. That snake minding their business. I go the other way. I try to keep my house as clean as possible because I don't want to kill no roaches or nothing like that. That's just me, you know? So I believe that I can't look at somebody. You have to experience God. God wants to be experienced. If all of us are around here walking and doing the same thing, looking the same, sometimes I feel like I'm losing my mind just because of how the world is today. Everything
now, I want to say this real quick. The thing, when you mentioned about God being everything and experiencing itself through everything,
right.
I want to point out that when you said you have to experience God, that there is no way that you can't not experience God, right? It's just a matter of what is God to you? What is the all? What is it to you? You may not call it God, but if you are experiencing in this life, if you know you're here, that is God, is what she is saying here. So you can't not experience God. It's just a matter of what you call it, right? Like we can't not experience this world.
Right.
But we navigate it through different lenses, and we see it in different ways and respond to it in different ways with different stimuli. We just do. If I say something to you, your brain may create a whole different thought than, you know, Lacey or Jamie if I say something to them. This means that y'all's world is entirely y'all's. right?
Right.
That's why I always say you're all alone in this world. Nobody can share it with you. You're born alone, you die alone, and you experience every single day alone. You and I can eat the same foods and we'll experience it entirely different. Listen to the same songs, hear it differently. Sit in the same room, feel two different temperatures, right? So likewise, you're going to experience God through your lens, you as you. That's how, and nobody else can experience it as you. You are a snowflake. Here today, gone tomorrow. Know that you are special and you are God. And I truly believe that.
Yes.
You know, when people say, well, you're atheist, but you believe in God. I know it sounds crazy, but it's without this consciousness and narrative that we've been given about God. You understand? It's what you call God. And so, yeah, so you can definitely be an atheist or agnostic and not have a faith or belief in a God outside of you and still very, very well believe that you are the all, part of the all. You contribute to it. When I can't not, when I die, I am food, right? I become life to every animal, to any animal that can consume me, right? So I'm taking part in that right now. When I die, I still take part in that. You know, I am God. You know, I always say if we sped up time, if we all were in the same room and you sped up time 1,000 years, if you go back to that room, you'd see dust, carbon, and it all be the same. You know, so we're magic, and based on when you look at it, you think it's different, but it's all the same. It really is. We are the pixels on a TV screen. On a TV screen, you can see trees, people, all that, but really what it is pixels, right? Those pixels are very small, each one giving you a smaller picture that makes up the larger, and that's what we are in my eyes. And while you're finishing your thought, Queen, I'm going to bring up Stefan, Stefan, if I'm right, and this will be the first and last person. You guys took too long. Y'all just. What were you saying, love? While I bring Stefan up.
I lost my train of thought.
Okay, what's up, Stefan? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing good. I see y'all got a good discussion going on here.
Thank you. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Is it Stefan or Stefan?
Stefan. Yeah, you got it right.
Okay, I like that, King. I like.
Yeah.
What's the thoughts that's on your mind?
So I joined on the live about 10 minutes ago, and it's just like I like when people have their own view on certain things. And before I get into it, like explaining what my view is on a lot of things, I just want to start by saying that I really respect everything you're doing, Kevin Wesley, because it's a lot of stuff that you have commentary on that really, hit me good. You know what I'm saying? And I was able to eat the meat, spit out the bones type stuff and really take it at face value. It's just like, what I'm saying? Just understand that people are going to have their different way of life, and you just got to be able to relate and have respect for people's different opinions. And I want to expect, yes, I've been a subscriber for a good minute, and I'm really liking the content. I want to say just keep them coming. I'm enjoying it. And to get into it, and I would say I'm at the crossroads as far as being like a believer of like a God. Like I do believe that there was like a higher power that created everything. Just to start as a foundation for how I look at the way I go about learning and seeking the knowledge. And what I found with myself is that I'm definitely a visual learner. So if I see things happen in the world, it's simple for me to just look at it as a fight between good and evil. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't really scare me. It doesn't I'm not scared of the unknown, of how potentially that the Bible's history, some of it is misconstrued, some of it's not true. Some people probably didn't exist. And the argument of the skin colors of different people who were in the Bible, who were mentioned a lot and who were God's chosen ones, like Moses, they try to argue Moses, skin color, Jesus, all that stuff. I'm not too focused on that. I'm focused on the message and the culture and what it has effect on the culture of, like the Black community and just communities in general. I'm looking at where the direction is and if it leads to evil or whether it leads to good. And I'm trying to make sure I can find it in my heart because, I said a man's moral was in his heart, something like that. Like I'm kind of like paraphrasing where I got that idea from. And it's just like, I want to take that and expand on it. If I were to have like kids one day, I would want my kids to know where to go, to know where to seek like the truth, and yeah, just know where to reference for it, knowing that all the good they're doing is making their ancestors proud. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I look at more of like what is good and what is evil. Like I want to black and white in that kind of idea, and that putting in that aspect.
Yes, sir.
And that's basically everything I had to say about most of the conversation. And if you have any input or idea what you want to expand it, help me understand it.
Yeah, sure. So like one of the first things that you had spoke on was that God, or you believing that there was a God who created everything. My thoughts were the same, and it could still be, when I look at it, my thoughts were that, were that the God that would have created everything is so grand and great and more complex than anything we could see around us, right? But my mindset now is the further you go back to whatever created everything, which is what we're calling God, it might actually be more simple, right? Because as we continue to evolve and expand outward, we are becoming stronger, whether that be in our immune system through breeding and having different, genes and things like that to fight off different things, whether that be we are evolving to the environment that we live in, the conditions that we're in. And it seems that the whole world is doing that, expanding and changing according to the environment. So far back, the first molecule that existed before anything I would think would be way more simple, right? Not grand and large, but small, right? And that would still be God. It would absolutely still be, but
exactly.
The difference your idea that we project on the God is that it's, magnificent and, glowing and, have a voice that makes us shake and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So the concept of God versus what God could actually be, And
I was just like, I want to, what I'm saying, I get what you're saying there. And I want to also say how like it's really good for to believe in God. And me personally, I believe in like Jesus. I believe in the idea of Jesus. If people want to argue whether or not he's real or not, the idea of Jesus, I feel like really inspires mankind, because you know how people say they want to be like Jesus and they mimic Jesus.
Right.
Because it's just like the idea is you want to be your greatest version as a man. And I feel like a perfect depiction of a man that is doing everything he needs to do to be a good human being in this world is to look at Jesus and the things he stands for and how he wasn't a sinner. And I believe like the idea of sinning for humans is to not be like perfect. Like that's what religion does. It makes you feel like you have to be perfect as far as trying to completely get rid of sin. And my idea of sin is that you want to be sinless. You want to sin less. And I got that idea from another channel. He talks, he's a pretty small channel, and he talks about the Bible and stuff. And he mentioned some good stuff and points from the Bible about being a man and what following Jesus represents for a man. And me being in a single parent household, if I didn't have, like, in my personal opinion, if I didn't believe in God, if I didn't seek the truth through the Bible, I probably would have been worse off, in my opinion, if it wasn't for inspiring to be like Jesus. And, that's one of the main reasons why I like the idea of the cross wearing as a necklace and crucifix, because it's a symbol, and it represents, it represents sacrificing all your life's pleasures to the best way you can. And it's like, it's a suffering. It like you suffer when you do that, so it's like, if you want to do certain things that are considered like wrong and sinful in the Bible, my idea is to definitely go ahead and try to limit that. At the same time, try to discover the reasons why certain sins are sins, because I feel like God wouldn't say this is a sin because, just because. I feel like there's a reason for why a sin is a sin. It's because it leads to something. It leads to something that can potentially like destroy you. It's they say that the devil seeks to destroy and steal and kill. So it leads to that arena to cause you to be more vulnerable to that. If you engage in these certain sins, like these cardinal sins, you know what I'm saying? Like the 7 deadly sins, all that type of stuff. It just really understand why they are sins and not just feel like, oh, it's just God trying to be controlling.
Say something. First off, I want to say I salute you for even coming on and just honoring and being able to give praise to another man, because in our community that is not normal, not normal behavior where another man
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I want to praise you for that. And just off of the sin, when I did my research, I realized that the original meaning for sin means to miss the point, to miss the mark.
Yeah.
So like if we're having a discussion and you completely miss the whole point of my discussion, that would be considered a sin, you know? And I pretty much feel like Kev, like we talked about in the past, where when animals come here, nobody has to tell them to not do certain things. They just are born naturally. They know certain things that's bad. You know, like if I were to touch fire at a young age, my mom probably was trying to stop me. She's spanking me because she knows that fire is going to burn me. But until I get close enough to that fire to get burned, then I'm going to realize that, okay, that's what she was trying to do. So I get your point. As you know, when we put these things and say these things, is trying to help us. But I just wanted to interject the original term. The original meaning for the term sin is to completely miss the mark. And I feel like if we all as human beings just do good, like, you know what not to do, you know not to walk up somebody, kick somebody, you know not to, I would hope people know not to just look at a female because that female looks beautiful. You don't just go and take something that's not yours. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
That's being morally right. I don't believe books should have to tell you to not do certain things. You get what I'm saying? But I understand your point of view. I just wanted to say what sin, you know, the definition means.
I appreciate that input.
I want to share something with you, and I think it'll help to bring in to a lot of what you were saying, right? So you was talking about how you like to look at the world through the lens of good and evil, right? And you see it as good versus evil, right?
Yeah.
So this is a very ancient concept. Our ancestors have done that, which is actually why we try to conceptualize, or why they try to conceptualize good and evil into God and devil. So you got God, which is G-O-D, right? But God is good, which is G-O-O-D, right?
Yeah.
And the devil is evil, which is evil with a D, right? Now, our ancient culture, we conceptualize good and evil, or God and devil, with spirit and body, right? So your devil would be your flesh, your God is your mind. So sin is anything that's counterproductive to your life, right? So this is why, if you notice, gluttony, overeating is bad because it harms your body, right? Lust is bad because it stagnates your body, right? It causes you to make bad decisions, right? Murder is bad for its reasons, and so forth and so on, right?
Yeah.
But you can see how even thought can be bad for your body, as it can stagnate you. Doubt and fear and things like that can keep you from moving forward. So you can call all those things your devil, your double. And your mind, which is your God, your higher self, is in competition with your double or your devil, right? So let's just say if I look at the world and you see someone, like Katt said, we should know not to dominate a woman and just take something from her, right? Well, if you look at this man is doing that because of his body, his devil, his double, right? He's lustful, right? And so he wants to fulfill or quench that lust. And so he's going to take that woman, right? Now we would look at that and say, by perspective, it's evil, but evil and good are actually very arbitrary, right? They're subjective, not objective. The reason that is because the person who's doing that horrible act right now, they probably feel good inside. They probably don't feel like they shouldn't be doing that. In fact, it probably turns them on. So now we have to say, okay, how is that evil if that person doesn't know it's evil, right?
Right.
Because that person doesn't feel it's evil. You feel it's evil by your observance of it. The woman most certainly feels it's evil because she doesn't want to be in that position, right? So what an old ancient African concept is, ignorance is evil. So it's not defined as good or bad. It's defined as simply ignorance, right? So in your lack of knowledge, you kill yourself. You eat whatever. You do whatever. You step wherever. You're going to kill animals when you take a footstep, right? So in your ignorance, you are evil. So the problem is your lack of knowledge, and we perish for a lack of knowledge. And that's an ancient concept, and I'm showing you how that goes to a more modern concept that you would find in your Bible. We perish for lack of knowledge because the lack of knowledge is why you die. Sin, right? Sin is what kills us, your lack of knowledge. If you know better, you do better. That's why I was saying earlier, we live in bodies that we don't know anything about. So we're eating the wrong things. Your diet is what the world tells you. Your food is made up of the food pyramid. You probably eat eggs, bacon in the morning, maybe some cereal, you know, and for lunch, you eat too, right? Just like pets.
I cut breakfast completely out.
Good, because that's what it is. It's break fast. It ain't, you're not supposed to be eating when you break fast, right? You should be eating later on in the day. You know, that's so crazy. Right. But
you
again,
feel much better.
Lack of knowledge, right? So that's why I say that when I look at good and evil now, my good and evil is more based on consequences, right? If I live my life a certain way, how will it affect others, right? How will my action cause others to feel, right? And if it would cause others to feel bad and create negative experiences for people, I'm going to say that's likely not something I should be doing, right? And so that means if I want to live a life, even though I'm free from religion and I don't have a guy that told me not to live a seductive life, I'm not going to live that life because I can see the consequences of that is leaving a world of broken hearts, making a bunch of children out of wedlock, right? And so I would say that for me, that is sin because it would slow my life down. That's not where I want to go, right? So
exactly.
That's why I say that if you notice the Bible's God, it's not set on consequences, its rules and its morals, right? So you might have thou shalt not kill, which seems to be set on consequences and morals. But then you also have do not boil a baby goat in its mother's milk. That's one of the 10 commandments. What's the thing? What's the deal with that? So it would seem that God's laws are more egotistical versus laws that make life for humanity better, right? Worship God first, put no other God before me. These are your first 2 commandments, right? And third is thou shalt not murder, right? So this God seems to be more concerned about you not worshiping someone else, right? And so we can't adversely see how that leads to any negativity as people who worship different gods still live amazing lives, right?
Exactly.
So that's why I looked at life and said, if I'm going to base my life on any type of morals, I have to take it outside of myself. So I'm not just living a made up life due to what I think is right and wrong. I have to be completely unbiased, right? And say, if this behavior is bad, then I'm not going to do it, right? If it's bad for my life, then I'm not going to do it, right? And that's why I say, like Katt said, sin is missing the mark, and we all have sin. And so you said, you know, being a Christian, being a believer, or just taking up the mantle of making your life better by having a more focused life, it means you're going to make sacrifices, don't it?
Yeah.
And through those sacrifices, you will likely suffer, right? Because you could go do certain things that other people want to do, but because you choose to stay away from those things and you want to, it does create a sense of suffering, right? But this is what causes us to evolve. That's why I love like monks when they step away from, you know, sex, eating, the society and get to themselves. They develop a whole new being within themselves. You know, we can all do that. So we can all raise our God power through separation from, I even say, modern religion, modern culture, and modern society, right? And that takes a great sacrifice. So I can understand how you would say, hey, the cross for me means, you know, the sacrifice of something great to get to something greater. There is nothing that you choose to do in life where it's not going to require you to make a sacrifice. Nothing. And I would venture to say that the greater the thing is that you want is going to be the greater the sacrifice. Let's say if you say, I want to be the greatest basketball player ever. Do you know how much time and commitment that you have to sacrifice to that? How much dedication that you have to put into that sport and not be somewhere else doing some other thing, right? Most people are not willing to sacrifice. And that's why I can see how powerful your symbol is to tell myself, hey, yo, it's not going to be easy. You know, if I tell myself I want to get in shape, my sacrifice is being sore. My sacrifice is having to go through the sweat and the tears, probably tearing something, you know, getting weaker. Actually, when I go into the gym, I actually go with the intention to get weaker. And my goal ultimately is actually to get stronger, right?
Yeah.
Got to fight through the soreness. Got to fight through the tightness. And like you said, you got to rest, right? So hang out. Now I got to go to sleep. Why do you have to go to sleep? Because your body's supposed to, right? So sin then would be not going to sleep. Because if you don't go to sleep, your body's not going to do what it's supposed to do with that workout or with that food. And your brain ain't going to be healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how
on that sleep schedule for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's why I say with any goal or whatever that you have in life, you can put your just the same aspect that you have into your religion by means of, like you said, that cross means sacrificing. That goes for what I call cognitive reality, right? So because you're able to look at religion itself and say, I can still make it work for me. The ideas that I learned in religion, I can still make them work for me. That's a beautiful thing. And that's why I say religion in and of itself isn't bad, simply because of cognitive reality. You can make it what you want it to be.
Yeah. You know, I really am enjoying this like conversation. All your input, you know what I'm saying? It's really driving force for me today. And like I said, I respect your work, and a lot of things you talk about, it really just doesn't come down to like whether or not you're supposed to just believe in God. Everybody who believe in God, it don't have to be this thing where you draw the line in the sand, because like you said, there's different types of religions that live in harmony and peace. And it's like you look at that, you just want to learn, you just want to seek the truth. And when I was, you know what I'm saying, working on myself, trying to be a better person, that's all I had to go by, really, because it was a struggle. I want to say it was a struggle for any person on the planet. There's going to be struggle for everybody. And it's like, it's a no-brainer for me to think that everybody would know that you have to sacrifice bits and parts of yourself, whether or not you do believe in God, to achieve the things you want to get. And that's just adulting 101 as well. And
also, you said something about Jesus too, and seeing yourself in Jesus. I was the same way. I am still the same way, believe it or not. So Jesus is a mighty man in my eyes, whether it be figurative or myth or real. This person rose to being a strong person who would speak the truth in face of anybody. And I think that every man will get to a point to where he can speak his truth, regardless of what anybody else may think, right? Jesus is telling a multitude of people, don't hit people with stones, even though they've been believing that God said to do it.
Right. I was, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm actually reading the Bible right now. You know, it's a good read. I just got out of Joshua. I'm now on Judges. And I'm noticing at the beginning, he was telling them, you know what I'm saying, if they go against the commandments, the punishment was that people get stoned. And it's like, that's just I feel like when you're reading the Bible, those are just, you know what I'm saying, there's just obstacles in which you got to understand and get through just to get to like the bread and butter, what God is trying to get across and what he's trying to convey as far as the morals and, you know what I'm saying, what was it all for in preparation of, you know, the idea that God knows what's going to happen is just like, that's why, you know, suspension of just the reality that's where people stop reading the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Because people will stop reading the Bible if they keep seeing like what God is doing.
I want to give you something too on that. Okay, let's say you read that and you say, dang, the Bible's saying stone people. That's a little harsh, right? So this is why I say the amazing idea of bringing Jesus into the Bible and how he sees the world, right? So take these people who live in this world, ancient world, where they're stoning women for sex outside of marriage, right? And it sounds very bad. Like, why would you stone somebody to death for having sex outside of marriage, right? Or even cheating during marriage? Excommunicate them. Let them get a divorce, separate them. Why are you hitting them with rocks? Why? And the whole community has to do this, right? So when you think about this community of people, when this woman has sex outside of wedlock or outside of her marriage, she can stand to trick not just the man, but the whole entire family into raising a child that is not theirs. More so, if that's God's child, you're tricking God's child out of their true biological father. And the Bible's God truly cares about that, right? The genealogy of the dad and that line being lined up, right? So everyone, its mother's baby father's maybe, and a father should get access to his child, right? And so they would get so angry at women for these lies because you had no way of knowing the truth. So now every person in this family is now maybe doubting this kid or believing that this kid is theirs, and they leave their inheritance to this kid. It takes on their last name, and generation after generation, this child believes they came from that line, right? So human, like men at that time, were devastated by the idea that they could be tricked out of being a father to their child. So they came up with very harsh punishments, right? How can we make sure that women be faithful, that they keep themselves so men are not tricked out of their legacies, right? We're going to stone you. We're going to kill you. We're going to burn you at the stake, right? Now, here comes Jesus, this person that grows up in a time where we stone people. Mostly if you grow up in an environment, you can't see outside of that environment. Your morals will be in line with that environment. Somebody typed, if all you see is what you see, you can never see outside of what you see, right? So imagine growing up in an environment where all you have is the data of your day and age, but you're Jesus. So this means you have some type of intellect. You're tapped into something where you still know something's inherently wrong with what you see. Even though you may not have the data or moral code to say it's wrong, he could look at those women, a woman about to be stoned, and know that something ain't right about that, right? We have to try a different way. And so Jesus said, yo, if you've never sinned, cast the first stone. You're treating one sin greater than the other. And that's just not how God sees it. Exactly. It is wrong. It's very wrong to deceive a person into raising a family that's not his, but it's no different than any other lie or murder or any of these things, right? So you can see how this person, Jesus, at a time and day where he didn't have a book to tell him that you should say this is wrong. He just knew it. And saying this publicly got him looked down upon. It got him questioned. They even questioned if he was the true son of God. This happens now. Our world can be a certain way. And some of us are truly Jesuses in our own time. We don't have the data to know what we see is wrong, but we know it is, right? So I grew up in a broken home just like you. My father wasn't there. My mother died when I was 3. I knew certain things were wrong. I knew certain ways about how I was treated was wrong. I was belittled a lot as a child, right? Put down a lot. And I knew I wouldn't treat my children like that. Now, I didn't know that this is necessarily wrong. Though nobody taught me that. You only get one set of parents and one group, one environment you grow up in. But I didn't duplicate it because I knew it was wrong the whole time. Nobody had to tell me. I was a special kid. Most people did not know it. They became their parents and became their surroundings. Man, I knew it was wrong. And I said to myself when I was a kid, when I have my own children, I will not treat them this way. But that's like being a Jesus in your own time, having this ability to see wrongness when you haven't gotten the data to establish wrongness, right? And so really you're elevating your community by giving them better morals than what they've previously had. And many of our Jesuses in our lifetime have been killed for that. So you go back and you look at like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and all these people who try to speak out for how wrong the world was. Well, at the time, those people didn't think the world was so wrong, were they? Did they? And they thought you were a nuisance for speaking out against that wrong in the world. So that's why I say in many ways, we are all still Jesuses, right? And I'll die for that. I'll die speaking the truth, right? There's this man in this cartoon. It's called Vinland Saga. Have you saw this anime? It's on Netflix.
It's an anime. There's a lot of anime I haven't seen. I only know like Naruto. Right? What's it called?
Vinland Saga. It's on Netflix. Type it in if you guys have seen it. But anyway, this man on there, he's a warrior, mighty warrior. His name is Thor's, right? Now, plot twist or a spoiler, he dies early in this series, right? But it's really mainly about him, which is crazy. But he's like this undefeated warrior who can just beat anybody. It's kind of like he like one punch man in a world of people, right? But he's that strong. But anyway, he ends up losing his life because someone holds his son hostage, and he's not going to let his son die. So he allows them to kill him. So all these people end up shooting him with arrows. And when he died, he was still standing. So he died standing up, right? So I had this rap song where I say, I'm Thor's, I'm a die stand up nigga.
That's a bar.
I will die on my feet. I will die standing up because I'll never back down from the truth. I'll always speak what I truly think about the world, even if the whole world turns against me. I was that way when I walked away from religion, and I'll never change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Good
mean?
deal.
So in that way, I'm a Jesus.
Yeah, good deal. And it's like there's a lot of there's 2 points I want to hit on and go off of that. There's a lot of misconceptions about Jesus and people who are Christians, and how in the Islamic community, they believe a lot of people are blinded and misguided about what Jesus means to Christian, or what it's supposed to mean to God, and how like people believe Jesus is God, and how he's the son of God, and therefore he's God too. And I see it as like, if anything, Jesus is similar to how Moses was given his strength, and how Noah, you know what I'm saying, with the ark. I don't see Jesus any different from how the turn of events happen. Where, I mean, I haven't got to where Jesus is in the Bible yet. We'll see what I think about that eventually. But yeah, I see it as God is there's still a one true most high God, and how the God of the Islamic religion, I guess they just don't like the idea of Jesus being the son of God and being one of the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get, because yeah, he's the number one person everyone in the Christian community prays to. I'll be like, Jesus is a messenger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you're gonna pray, you pray to the messenger, and that's Jesus. And I feel like sometimes because I pray a lot, you know what I'm saying? I am a believer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at the crossroads. I pray a lot, and I include Jesus' names in my prayer, because yeah, he's a messenger and he's something I aspire to be. And then God, I feel like there's like a idea of yin and yang for how I see the most high God who brought his son Jesus down. There's a yin and yang energy frequency that I feel like I communicate with, whether it be within internal, and you know what I'm saying, I'm raising my vibration, my energy when I'm praying to not only Jesus, the messenger, but hopefully, yeah, the idea is to get my sins forgiven through Jesus Christ to the most high God. Because you know how I'm saying, you know, I feel like God he's ruthless as far as judgment goes. I feel like he does not hold back. And Jesus is, in low key, was put there to, you know, ease the tension off of the idea of being in God's judgment 24/7. And I feel like the most high God is a one true God, and not necessarily the face of Jesus. It's just the light. It's the sun. You know, you got the sun and you got the moon, the yin and yang. And I feel like God plays a role in a lot of the world science and all that stuff. So it's just like, when I think of God, I think of a lot about, you know what I'm saying, what we see with our eyes, you know, as far as what's beyond just mammals, reptiles. It's just the foundation where we live on, like Mother Earth. And then you got the sun, who's the masculine version of just God. And then the feminine version of God is all of life moving in all of its harmony, in harmony together. So that's a misconception. And then I remember a lot of your videos, you at the end, I think, yeah, you still do it how you say, is you always, if you ever find yourself in the order of chaos, it's in that chaos that you will find yourself. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that even atheists, you know, all these people who, you know what I'm saying, who are on that path of trying to find themselves, end up eventually serving something. Like they end up eventually worshiping something. I believe Andrew Tate kind of went over this, and his take on God, it kind of like, I have a relation to that as well. And it kind of went into how, like, yeah, people eventually worship something. Eventually you're going to worship, like something you're going to crave and like worship, replace God with, basically. So when you say eventually it's through that chaos you will find yourself, I believe that judgment can truly be done through yourself throughout life. And I feel like that is what can determine whether or not you should fear like God's judgment. In my opinion, I feel like low key you can already predict what type of judgment God is going to engage with you on. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. Like I said, I love your journey. I love the way you see the world, man. Even how you started off with saying that Jesus is a lot similar or likened to Moses and Solomon and all these different people. And then you talked about how of course, with the sun and different things in nature showing you aspects of God.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know how right you are, and it's crazy that you're just reading the Bible like a book straight through. But it's amazing, man. The Bible is a book. It's parables, but it's also mapping the sun. So it does have the natural aspects of nature in there, right? So when you look at Moses and Solomon and all of them, the Bible is basically the sun going through the zodiacs, right, or throughout the world. So when you look at these different characters, notice that their birthdays or the numbers involved in the storylines are symbolic of three or numerisms of three, right? Jesus is born, he's born of a virgin, of course, but we celebrate him in December 12, which is three, right? At 12, he speaks in temples. It's 1 + 2 is 3. That's how you do numerology. Right. At 12, he disappears. You don't see him again until he's 30, meaning 18 years are missing, which is 9. At 30, he starts his mission, which is 3. 3 years later, he dies, and in 3 days, he rises again, right? If you read the story of Solomon, you see the numbers are the same. If you read the story of Moses, the numbers are the same. Moses, 3,000 Israelites died because they worshiped a golden calf, 3,000. So these are numerology showing you the sun going throughout the
There was
stars,
a little bit of numerology in Joshua about how like he had like 7 different locations or 7. 7 was the number in that chapter of Joshua where he was conquering that land. But,
absolutely, because they have meaning. So the number 7, of course, has its own numerology meaning as the multiple 3 and all those things.
I remember it was the 7 trumpets, like 7 trumpet noises, something like that.
And if you look at like the size of heaven in the Bible, the numbers, it comes up to 9 because 9, of course, the circle is at the top, and 6, the circle is at the bottom, which is 6, 9 or yin yang. 6 is the devil, 999 is heaven. 144,000 will go to heaven. That number is 9, symbolizing higher level of consciousness that God is in the mind. But these numerology concepts and zodiac concepts are given to you by way of parable. Different ways of understanding lead to different thought. So you can read it like a story and just read the narrative of it and come to a conclusion, or you can read it as the sun going through the zodiacs come to a conclusion, get a whole different story, or you can read it as the numerology and read the numbers and interpret them and have a whole different conclusion. You can put them all 3 together and it expands the story and makes it just marvelous. That's why I actually like it more now that I have a whole new understanding of it. So you're saying it in a way that I think will be revealed to you later, that it really is all of that stuff. That Moses, all these people are the same because they all rose to a certain place, led people, and they died in leading those people, you know? So yeah, they were all Jesuses in their own way. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's just
sons of God, not just he's the only son of God. He's one of the
The book is a really good read, and I'm gonna keep, you know what I'm saying? I'm just keep reading it because it's like any book. Even if it's a bad book, that's not necessarily, it's not about God or anything. It's just a normal storybook. People gonna read right through that just because there's not like this religion or anything behind it, but people just read right through horrible books. People watch through horrible movies. You know what I'm saying? They try to act like it's okay to have all these sex scenes in movies and try to act like, you know what I'm saying, ain't nobody uncomfortable during that. And it's like, I'm gonna treat the Bible the same way. Why not? And I'm gonna just keep going. And and it's another point. Because I did when I first hopped on the live and I noticed y'all's topic of discussion kind of like touching on all points about, you know, where things start and how, you know, people leave religion. I noticed that Katt was referring to the astrology aspect of how like people, they do think that's like demonic. And I kind of want to touch on that. I kind of want to understand more of your input on that. About how like, because mine is when I look at it, because I just got done reading the book of Enoch, and that's basically the story that was stripped from the Bible or stripped from somewhere. I guess like I guess it was like I think the book of Enoch is for the Jewish religion, or I'm not too certain, but the book of Enoch supposedly is just a story about the angels. And this was a story that describes what happened before God flooded the earth. And then that story, it was very short of how God, you know what I'm saying, handled the situation before the flood. He gave like short description of how like the reason for him flooding it was because he see people defiled, like the angels defiled his idea of, I guess, astrology and all that stuff, and how it was a sin. I guess the angels betrayed God. Basically, they came down to earth and they slept with man. So they came down to earth and they had their wives. They had wives, and they had angel offspring and humans. So that were now spiritual. That's what created the idea of, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like they said, the angels created the astrologies and stuff like that. And it wasn't in God's command. And so they had Raphael, Michael, and I feel like I'm gonna mix up the angel names, but it's another angel name that's similar to one of the fallen angels. I'm gonna mention that so I don't misuse it. But like it was three angels basically that looked down, and it was like, God, what have they done? You know what I'm saying? They were asking God, like, what do we do about this? Because it's I guess it was out of like, it wasn't at the right time that all that should be revealed to human. And we basically weren't supposed to know about astrology. It was all supposed to be, you know, peace and harmony. I guess it has something to do with Adam and Eve, you know what I'm saying, eating the knowledge of good and evil tree. But it goes into Enoch, I guess, going into this angel prison and getting introduced by Michael and Raphael to the idea of heaven. And also the plan, what the original plan was. And I'm going to keep rereading it, though, because I want to truly understand what they're talking about. And to really punch it or bring it home is how, like, I feel like evil can really manifest in that stuff. So that's why they think it's demonic. I feel like evil can be used in that stuff much easier than evil can be used in the Bible. Much easier than evil can be used just in with four walls and the ceiling, which is the church. Because all you got to do is stay away from that environment and you won't be affected by it, because you can take the long way around the sea, so to speak, about your journey with God. It doesn't necessarily have to be with, you know, a toxic family environment growing up. Because I was born in a somewhat Christian family, and them not knowing enough about God and doing all this sin and stuff and not going to church enough didn't prevent me from wanting to continue to get to know God, because I knew that even though it was all forced on me, like you had to get up in the morning, you had to go to church, you had to get dressed, whether you like it or not, even if it was all like there forced on me, I knew something in like prayer and just understanding that God knows best for you. I just knew that basic moral was important to me as a kid, as a baby. So I feel like all those fallen angels that came up with all those astrologies and stuff, they might not all be evil, but at the time they definitely weren't, because they were pleading to Enoch. You know, they said, Enoch, can you please tell God to just forgive us for this crime? And God said, no, I'm not having it. You know what I'm saying? Basically, at the end, long story short, God flooded the earth. He told him, I'm not having it.
What if I told you that astrology predates religion?
Yeah.
By hundreds of thousands of years.
Right.
It's one of the first ways to map the stars. That's all they had was the stars in the sky. So imagine not having any TVs, any books to read, and you just see the night sky. So you're going to map the sun. You know when spring, summer, fall, winter hits because of mapping the sun. It's dire to you to know when to map the sun. You got to know when to plant your food through mapping the sun. It's very important to understand the above as well as the below. So when religion came along, it wants to wipe away the understanding and culture of people before it. So in religion, it has negative stories about astrology. There's even a point in the Bible where God asked Job, who made the Mazzaroth, inferring that he created the Zodiac. And that's what it means in Hebrew, the Zodiac. He actually asked him, who made it? Saying that he made it, you know? But again, that's when I say religion can now be, because it's great for spiritual growth. But this is where the word religion starts to really ring through. The word religion, not the religion in and of itself, but the word religion it comes from a word called religare. I don't know if you've heard this, but it's called etymology, which is the study of the creation of words. So the first time the word religion was created, it meant to bind up the mind, to bind or tie up. So when they would say we're going to give you a religion, they were saying we're going to cripple your mind. Okay, we're going to domesticate you via your mind. So they actually called these forms of thought religion because they are to restrict your mind from knowing the complete truth. So if you read the Bible based on its narrative, yeah, astrology is bad. But understanding that astrology is wrong from a reality standpoint is something you'd have to demonstrate. Now, as you said earlier, you want to know, you want to tell your children how to find truth and how to find it based in reality, right? Like, how do you know what's true and real? I would say to you, truth is that which lines up with reality. Okay, so in the biblical literature, it will tell you the zodiac is bad, but how does that line up with reality, right? We know that the story is of the Nephilims and the angels of God picking wives to sleep with and forming these giants, and God had to form the world by narrative. But when you look at the actual world of reality, was the earth flooded? Do we have proof the earth was flooded? All the way around, just like the Bible says, the 2 of each animal and 5 of each clean animal travel to this boat, right? Was this boat truly large enough to hold all of these beings, right? That's when you start saying, okay, the measurements of this boat don't add up. There's no way you can get 2 of every unclean and 5 of every clean animal on this boat. So that starts to say it doesn't line up with reality, right? And so that's why I say the Bible in and of itself is a good book, but when you're looking for it to be true for proving something like the zodiac is wrong or evil, that's a narrative, and you can't make that true without first demonstrating that in reality. So you're halfway there, but you'd have to demonstrate that astrology can be used for evil or is evil from in the world of reality, not just a myth of the book. So I wouldn't debate you that astrology is bad per the Bible, but you'd have to demonstrate that astrology is bad in real life. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And then to touch on it some more, that the fallen angels, like there were like a lot of them apparently. So and then the idea was God, told Michael to cast them in the fire, you know what I'm saying? They will never see light, and they will never just cast them eternal punishment on these angels that kind of stepped out of line when they decided to create their own offspring. It's what brought forth like the giants on earth. And I feel like the giants are referred to as demons from the book of Enoch. That's what they mean by the giants. So when they gave birth to these humans, they had the giants, I guess. And then, I'm paraphrasing to the best of my ability. But like, I see it as all the angels, all the fallen angels, not just Lucifer, not just like Satan. I feel like it all ties in together about what makes evil, I guess. And like it mentioned because I'm going to keep referencing that book mainly to help people understand how like the battle of good and evil. That book is, I feel like, a good representation of it, because the purpose for God banishing those angels was because of how it didn't stop all the war, because they still had war. They still was making swords, and they were still practicing idolatry and fornication, all of that. He wanted to get rid of all of that. He wanted to limit that because there was no space for him to have his righteous. And the righteous people living amongst them, they couldn't move. They were just surrounded by all of that. And then he had
Yvonne, I am so sorry, man. I'm we right here drawing near the end of the time.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if you're available on Sunday. We are going to go back live Sunday. We're going to do some more reviews of different people leaving religion. And I think I'm going to talk a little bit about numerology, astrology, and zodiac. While astrology and zodiac are 2 different things, and kind of the importance of why cultures before the Bible did map the sun. It wasn't for a necessary reason to find a God outside of themselves. It was to navigate the world. Sundials, the calendar that you have, all these things were based off of mapping the sun, just like our religion is based off the stories that was told about the sun while it was in certain constellations or seasons in the world. We'll go through that. I'd love to have you back.
We was about to get, it was about to go longer. Like,
it's a dope conversation. Truly,
it looked like it was no.
Yeah,
I
but
got you.
definitely make sure you come back on Wednesday, and I'll bring you back on. I mean, on Sunday, and I'll bring you back on, and we'll have another build on this topic. Let's remember that, okay? Do as
Okay.
much research, do as much research as you can on that, and when you come back on Sunday, we'll have a great build on that.
For sure. And it's like, I'm subscribed to you, you know what I'm saying? I'm enjoying your content. And you really helping me, you know what I'm saying, help me keep it sane in just this crazy world, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, we can talk on that, because I noticed you got 2 wives and everything. Like, it's inspiring to see all of that. Truly is, because I believe, a man should, if he want to go down that path, we can talk about all of that, get into whenever. I appreciate the conversation. Yeah, I appreciate, having me on. And God, like, I guess I was gonna say God bless, but you get what I mean. I was gonna say God bless, but you get where I mean.
Listen, man, say it. I understand. I know the language that you're speaking, King. God bless you.
Right. Because you are doing God's work, basically. So
thank you, King. I appreciate that.
For sure. All right, I'll let you go.
Okay, King. I'll see you next time.
Later.
Hey, he seems like a really young brother, but that brother got tons of potential, boy. That's an amazing kid right there. I can tell. Yeah, he's growing, man.
Definitely.
I love that.
I did want to pick up what he said before we end, though. Like, when it comes to the Islamic belief of Jesus, they do believe that Jesus was he was a prophet, just like Moses and the other prophets. So they do believe that Jesus existed, but they just believe that he was a prophet, and like we all are. They don't put him on a pedestal. Like, in Christianity, they believe that this is God's son. And I personally believe that Jesus was an example for us to live by, not to continue to worship through. I believe that when he was here, you could use him as a person. Like he said, you could come in order to get to the Father, you have to come through me. I believe at that time, if he existed, then that's what it was. But I believe that he was an example for us to live by. And he left that back to us, like in the book of Philippians, where he says, you are able to do exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think, according to the power that worketh in you. And he also says that I've done this and greater works shall ye do. So you have the power. Everything is already in you. And in the book of Luke, 17th chapter, it tells you that heaven is within. Don't look here or there or outward. Look within. Like we can see God in everything, all nature, everything and everybody. But that temple is your temple, and you have to master your temple. And you could do that by using, Jesus as an example. But I personally feel like if I had a child, I wouldn't want my child. If I had a child and I created something, eventually I would want my creation to talk to me. And I have a video that I did when I was just, coming into the enlightenment as well. When was the last time you prayed to God? We always talk about Jesus. When we talk about God's creation, but we don't talk about the creator, if we're going to go that, direction. So that's one of the things that I wanted, to talk about as well. But I just wanted to try to catch some of the things that he was saying about, for the people that were still talking on it.
Yes, man. And I'm so sorry, love. I really did have to end the live, and that's the only reason I got him down. But I want him to be able to come back.
Oh, definitely.
And I believe he will. That way y'all can absolutely have that talk, and you can be able to convey your thoughts to him or whatever. I hate to have to end it, so you couldn't do that the way you'd like to.
No, it's okay. I'm just talking about, some of the people that were talking about it in the comments.
Yes, man. Yes, man. I want to say, Queen Katt, Lacey's asking, I think maybe people are asking this, how much is shipping for the book? Is that based on where you live, or is that a certain shipping cost? Do you know that right offhand?
I think it's a flat rate. So it should be no more than $7.
Okay. All right, guys. So just, so I guess, go make your purchases, family, and don't worry about that shipping. If you live far, it might cost a couple more dollars to get it there. Just like when you go order other stuff, you might have to pay for the shipping, family. All right, yeah. So it may be it's most likely a flat rate, but if you live somewhere crazy, it might cost you a little bit more to get the book, but it's well worth it, family. So she said some person said that it was $15 a ship. Is that something that's in your? Yeah. So she's not saying that she's seen that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be $15 a ship. I know it's like $25 if you want next day air, but we're gonna be shipping the actual week of the release, which is August 19th. We had to push it back, from the original date, but we're going to be shipping that week that the book actually drops, we're gonna, and everybody who already pre-ordered, they're gonna get it before August 19th. But the official date was moved to August 19th. But if you get next day air, I know next day air is $25, but it should shipping shouldn't be $15. I haven't seen it.
Listen, guys, get your tickets. Come out and meet myself and Katt in person. We would love to formally meet you guys, shake your hands, sign your books, and dance with you, drink with you, be merry with you. Okay, come out. Let's have an amazing time. Come out with your phones ready to take in some new numbers, and let's form a really tight cohesiveness with each other, family. It's a very lonely time for the elevating mind. So let's link up, family, and form some great friendships, great business partners. I was talking to a client yesterday, Queen Katt. He was talking about young kid, 18 years old, brilliant young kid, man. And he wants to find, better friends, and so he can make better decisions and things like that in his life.
Yeah.
And I was telling him that, like, he was, if your parent chose your friends for you, they wouldn't choose them based on your vibe with them, right? Y'all's commonalities, the animes y'all like watching, or the clothing that y'all wear. They would pick friends for you based on how much they can keep you focused, right? How driven they are, right? Their character and things of that nature. You may find that person boring, but your parent would choose that friend for you, right? I think that when we get to a certain area in life, we should change how we pick our friends, And so I would encourage you guys to come out to the event with the intention to choose better people to surround yourself with, choose people that you can learn from and grow with. I think that's a great way to live your life. And it's going to be an opportunity for all these people who think like you, who have been through similarly what you've been through, to be in the same place at the same time. Don't miss it, family. It's so much more than just coming out and saying what we have to say or be around us. You're going to come out and want to meet the people that's coming as well. Okay. And like I said, come prepared to change those numbers and get familiar. We always do this, and it's always amazing. I've met many friends through traveling the world and doing these type of meetings, man. A lot of great people out there. People I would have never known otherwise. So yes, guys, I look forward to seeing you guys. What is it, about 3 or 4 weeks? So maybe about a month away. Shoot.
About a month. Today makes
an amazing time.
Official month, grind time.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Go to Queen Katt. Is it queenkatt.com? I put it in there before, but I won't put it in here real quick. www.
IamQueenKatt.com.
I am Queen. That's what I forgot. Yep. Get the book, family. Get your tickets. All right. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys soon. On Sunday, we'll be back to build again. If you're available Sunday, right, Katt?
Yeah.
Okay. 12 noon again?
Yes.
Sounds good, family. All right. Come back, family, by 12 noon. We're going to review some more videos, and we're going to talk about a little more. Remember, I'm going to break down a little bit about how the Bible is mapping the sun astrologically, or astrology, not zodiac. We ain't so much about Pisces, Aries, which it is, but I want to show you how through astrology we map the world. And this ain't some pseudo stuff. This is simply a science. Okay, family? So be encouraged. Be evolution. Be the change that you want to see. No candle loses its flame from lighting another. And if you were to ever find yourself in the middle of chaos, it is in that chaos that you will find yourself. Any last words, Queen Katt?
I'll see y'all August 19th.
All right. See you guys.